Hello everyone, welcome back to Ruby Tarot. Thank you so much for always following and supporting this channel. The very moment you come across this video is the right time for you to receive its message. On this channel, I always bring messages about the things that are about to unfold in your life. When you open your heart and place your trust in the positive, you are also connecting with a parallel world where your wishes have already manifested. Today, through this reading, I will guide you to find the direction for your love life and help you move closer to turning your desires into reality. The theme of today's reading is the emotional changes that have been unfolding within your person recently. This will be an in-depth session, peeling back the layers of their inner world so that you can gain a clearer understanding of the movements within their emotions and soul. I have chosen 3 cards corresponding to Pile 1, Pile 2, and Pile 3. Listen to your intuition and pick the card you feel the strongest pull toward. Then click on the timestamp in the description to move directly to your chosen reading. Now, let us begin the session with those of you who have already made your choice. Hello to everyone who has chosen Pile 1. Thank you for your patience. Now, let us begin the reading for those of you who were drawn to the first pile. I truly hope this spread will bring you healing, new insights, and tender, love-filled moments. The theme we are exploring is the emotional changes that have been unfolding within your person recently. First, I will look deeply into the current state of the connection between the two of you. The first card that has appeared is the Knight of Cups, followed by the 7 of Swords, and then the 10 of Wands. The clarifying cards that have come out are Temperance, the Sun, the Magician, along with 1 Oracle card. When I take in this entire combination, I see that the message from the Oracle card, together with Temperance clarifying the 7 of Swords, highlights a very significant common point. Both emphasize the themes of restraint, balance, and the ability to regulate emotions. But this restraint does not exist without reason. Rather, it stems from a deep desire, a longing to preserve peace, to avoid letting the relationship fall into conflict or tension. This suggests that, at the present moment, within the bond between you and your person, there may be a situation where either both of you, or at least one of you, are choosing to endure, to hold back, and not allow emotions to explode. The purpose of this is to seek a resolution that is peaceful. They, or perhaps both of you, seem unwilling to let things turn into a confrontation, unwilling to inflict wounds upon each other. And so, even though within there may still be knots left unresolved, weariness unspoken, burdens unlifted, on the surface there is control. There is effort being made to keep the atmosphere calm, gentle, and free of added turbulence. It can be said that, at this stage, what stands out most in the relationship is the shared desire to find a harmonious resolution, a soft path forward that avoids conflict. This restraint and this balancing act are not without difficulty, because the 10 of Wands shows that exhaustion, burdens, or heavy responsibilities are indeed weighing upon one of you. Yet at the same time, the presence of the Magician reveals that the ability to create, to transform, to redirect the flow of circumstances is still here. If intelligence, resourcefulness, and finesse are applied, then the challenges you face can, in fact, be dissolved and overcome. Along with the Knight of Cups paired with the Sun, I sense that even though there is restraint, beneath the surface there still flows a current of genuine emotion, a yearning to bring warmth and joy to one another. Here, there is love, there is passion, and there is also the radiant light of hope. Yet at this moment, the two of you are still learning how to balance those emotions with the realities and challenges you face, seeking the most harmonious way to reconcile them for the sake of both. The clarifying card for the Knight of Cups that appeared is the 3, and when combined, this image speaks with clarity. At the very depth of your relationship, the feelings between the two of you are truly directed toward one another in a way that is sincere, pure, and completely straightforward. This is not a love that circles endlessly or hides in ambiguity. It is a strong, undeniable current of emotion, and deep within, each of you knows that the other is also thinking of you. In the intimate world the two of you share, it is as though you are connected through sheer authenticity, with even a quiet faith that your hearts are in harmony, and that this bond is anything but shallow. However, what makes this love more complicated is the restraint that overlays it. Because alongside the affection and the constant thoughts of one another, there is also the presence of self-control, the act of holding back, of not allowing oneself to express fully. I see very clearly that right now, there is this sense that both of you must make an effort to keep your emotions contained within certain boundaries, to prevent them from spilling over, from developing further beyond what feels allowed. It is as if there is an invisible wall blocking the way, so that even though the love is already strong enough, it still must be hidden, still must be suppressed. The 7 of Swords, when combined with Temperance, illustrates this vividly. On one hand, the two of you harbor deep affection for each other, but on the other, there exists some pressure, some reason that forces you both to learn how to regulate, to cool down those emotions, not allowing them to go too far. It could be that this love cannot yet be made public, or that the current circumstances simply do not allow it to be expressed naturally. That is why both of you are caught in the process of figuring out how to manage it, how to balance these surging emotions, how to conceal them gracefully so as not to overturn the situation. This is a state of simultaneously loving and being bound, of closeness and devotion intertwined with self-restraint and endurance. On another level, when looking at the Ten of Wands alongside the Magician, a different story begins to reveal itself. Your person, or perhaps even you, truly longs to begin something new. There is motivation, there is desire, and there is a strong inner drive urging them toward a fresh start. The energy of the Magician speaks of action, of creativity, of the power to transform ideas into tangible reality. Yet the Ten of Wands shows us that there is also a burden, a weight of responsibility, or some form of obligation pressing heavily upon the shoulders. This makes the act of beginning, no matter how much it is desired, become difficult. It is like someone standing right at the threshold, ready to take the first step forward, but carrying far too much on their back, making every step heavy, slow, and difficult to move. They may feel they are carrying too many responsibilities, or that there are things they cannot yet release, and so the possibility of beginning a relationship or taking it to a higher level is still being delayed. And in addition to this, the Oracle card appears with a message of inner peace and self-restraint. This is a reaffirmation once again that the entire situation revolves around the question of how to preserve balance within, how to remain calm and not allow emotions to take full control. It reminds us that right now, both of you are not only loving each other, but are also facing the tests of responsibility, circumstances, and the discipline of self-control. The energy of the Oracle emphasizes that the greater lesson in this stage is learning how to cultivate peace in the heart, how to exercise restraint so as not to disturb what already exists, even when the love itself is so powerful and so urgent that it longs to break free. In summary, here there is both deep love and concealment. There is both the yearning for a new beginning and the weight that holds it back. All of this is forcing both of you to learn how to balance, how to master your emotions, and how to find a path that is subtle and skillful. One that allows you to preserve the bond while also ensuring that no harm is done and the current state of things is not thrown into upheaval. The present moment feels like a stage in which both of you are called to quietly observe, to quietly maintain a certain distance, so that you may see more clearly how this love should be nurtured in silence. It is like a necessary pause, a sacred intermission meant both as a test and as an opportunity for deeper understanding, showing each of you how this love might mature without being disrupted, without being rushed too quickly. The message that comes forth here reveals unmistakably that whether the two of you are already in an official relationship or not, whether you have truly become a couple or are still lingering on the threshold, the emotions between you remain incredibly strong, undeniably intense. The affection is there. The attachment is clear and undeniable. You both hold each other deeply in your hearts. And yet, what arises here is the sense that this bond is not one that can be expressed freely, openly, or without constraint. There exists a barrier, a limitation of some kind, that prevents the feelings, no matter how powerful, from being fully expressed outwardly. And so, both of you are left pondering deeply over how to conceal these emotions, how to restrain them, how to keep them from overflowing. Within, there is an intense desire to begin, to step into something new, but in reality, the time is not yet ripe. And so the next question that emerges is this: if you cannot begin right now, then what should be done with these feelings? If in the future a beginning truly becomes possible, then how should it be initiated so that everything unfolds peacefully, without conflict, without wounds being inflicted upon one another? What stands out clearly is that both of you are repeatedly weighing, reconsidering, carefully turning over all possibilities in your minds, seeking the gentlest, most harmonious path forward. This is the most prominent impression I receive from this present state. Now let us turn our gaze toward the past between the two of you to see what events, circumstances, or energies once existed within this relationship. Past experiences often leave behind profound imprints, and it is these very imprints that can explain why the present moment has taken on the form and state that it now holds. When drawing the cards to reflect upon the past, the first that appeared was the Six of Pentacles. Following it came the Five of Pentacles, and then the Nine of Pentacles. The fact that all three of these initial cards belong to the suit of Pentacles reveals that, in the history between the two of you, matters surrounding material balance, the act of giving and receiving, feelings of lack, and the theme of independence were strongly present. The Five of Pentacles, in particular, often represents scarcity, hardship, the sensation of being abandoned or standing on the outside of something vital. To clarify this, I drew another card, and what appeared was the Page of Pentacles. At the same time, the Eight of Cups and the Two of Swords also emerged as clarifiers for the Five of Pentacles. Together, this suggests that at some point in the past, both of you, or at least one of you, were faced with a difficult choice: to remain in a state of lack, loneliness, and struggle, or to walk away, leaving behind a circumstance that no longer felt aligned. The Eight of Cups often carries the energy of departure, of choosing to move on even when the heart still lingers, even when threads of attachment remain. When paired with the Two of Swords, this emphasizes the hesitation, the inner conflict, the moments of uncertainty where the right course of action was unclear, where doubt and indecision clouded the choice. The Page of Pentacles shows that within that situation, there was still a spark of willingness to learn, to explore, to begin anew in small steps, to rebuild from something simple and humble. Yet, even so, this was not enough to fully fill the greater void that the Five of Pentacles had already revealed. And to expand the message further, I pulled another card from the Oracle deck. The card that appeared spoke of turning inward, of embarking upon a journey to seek light within oneself. After that, I felt the need for even greater clarity, and so I asked for another card to accompany the Six of Pentacles. The card that revealed itself was the Hermit. This is profoundly important because it shows that the past between you is heavily tied to the theme of balance in giving and receiving, but at the same time, it carried within it deep loneliness, a sense of isolation, and a tremendous need to journey inward in search of answers. The Hermit embodies the energy of contemplation, of a sacred silence in which truth is sought, of a quiet retreat into oneself to discover what light truly exists within the darkness. In summary, the past between the two of you reveals that there has been lack, there have been distances, there have been difficult situations that required leaving behind or making hard choices, and from those experiences came a deep search within. These are precisely the experiences that have shaped the way both of you now act and think in the present, cautious, restrained, and hesitant to let emotions burst forth too strongly, because there is already an understanding of the pain that comes with scarcity, with separation, and with loneliness. When I look more deeply, I see a picture unfolding like this, between you and your person in the past, and for some of you, this situation may even still be lingering into the present. There once existed a connection of a practical or beneficial nature, a bond that carried with it some form of tie related to work, study, or finances. Yet this does not come across as something negative. Rather, it appears as an initial thread of connection, a foundation that allowed the two of you to meet. For example, it may have been a relationship between teacher and student, or between a mentor guiding and a learner receiving knowledge, one transmitting wisdom, the other absorbing it. Or it may have been a situation in which you supported your person financially, perhaps offering help, encouragement, or tangible support, and through that, a connection was formed. In some cases, it could have been a work-related connection, such as that of a client and provider, or between a service giver and a receiver. It might even be something simpler, like your person having a shop, a business, or a place of trade where you were once a frequent customer, and from that familiarity, the bond began to take shape. So when I speak of a relationship of benefit here, it does not carry the sense that one was exploiting the other. Rather, it points to a specific circumstance, a shared environment where exchange naturally occurred, and from that exchange, the two of you discovered a thread of connection. Sometimes this may have been a direct bond between two individuals. Other times it may have been mediated through an organization, a company, or some larger system. But no matter the form it took, the starting point of your connection was tied unmistakably to an exchange of value, and this stands out very clearly in the reading. When I look at the Five of Pentacles, I pulled 3 clarifying cards to gain deeper insight: the Page of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups, and the Two of Swords. Ordinarily, the Five of Pentacles represents loss, hardship, or the feeling of being left behind, of losing something essential. But here, the energy that the spread emphasizes is not so much about material deprivation or disadvantage, but rather about the ending of a cycle. It feels like a relationship that has reached its conclusion, like a chapter of a book that has now closed. The trio of clarifiers makes this even clearer. The Page of Pentacles speaks of a youthful beginning, of learning and exploration in the past. The Eight of Cups carries the energy of being compelled to leave, to walk away, to set something behind even though the heart still lingers with attachment, and the Two of Swords shows the hesitation, the uncertainty, the difficult indecision involved in that process of choice. Taken together, the entire picture tells the story that between you and this person, there once existed a bond tied to shared benefits, shared environments, or a context of exchange. But at some point, that connection had to undergo a transformation, leading to the sense that everything had reached completion, that things had been brought to a close. It was not simply about loss, it was a state of having to stop, of a circle coming to its end in order to prepare the way for other steps yet to come. Here, the cards are saying that perhaps it was precisely this that left both of you with a feeling of lack of regret, yet at the same time, it also marked a turning point, an event that forced both of you to reflect, to look back at yourselves and at the relationship itself. For example, if in the past your connection with this person stemmed from studies, training, or some kind of course, then that program has now come to its conclusion, has been completed and closed. If it was a relationship shaped by work, partnership, or transactions, then most likely that collaboration, that project, or that process of exchanging value has now been fulfilled, with the financial exchanges or mutual benefits also having ended accordingly. In the case of a relationship carrying the dynamic of teacher and student, mentor and apprentice, then it may be that the training program, the period of guidance, has already run its course and, for now, has paused or come to an end. For those of you who, in the past, offered your person support in the form of material aid, whether financial assistance or some other kind of practical help, the energy of this reading shows that that phase too has come to an end. That help, that support, whether it came in the form of money or tangible, practical resources, may once have played a crucial role for them at a time when they truly needed it, but now, in the present, it feels complete, fulfilled, and closed. The energy of the card emphasizes not only an ending, but the completion of a cycle, a chapter that has been carried out to its fullness. For example, if your person was someone working in the fields of art, creativity, or media, then it is very possible that in the past you may have supported them by contributing, sponsoring, or lending your energy to their chosen path. Perhaps you once cheered them on in the way that audiences send tokens of encouragement, whether spiritual or material gifts, to creators of content. To put it in a more familiar image, it is like you once sent contributions or gifts through platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, or other online spaces where super chats or virtual gifts exist. Those gifts, that support, became part of the connection between the two of you, a current of energy you offered in order to accompany them, to encourage them, to help sustain their journey. But now the cards reveal that such support has ceased. You have stopped, no longer continuing to send those gifts or that assistance. This is not a loss in a negative sense, but more like the natural closing of a cycle. What needed to be given has already been given, what needed to be fulfilled has already been fulfilled, and now both of you stand at a new threshold, where the connection must be redefined based on something beyond material exchange or practical support. It is like a chapter that has come to its end, and in order for the next chapter to open, both of you must reflect on what foundation will sustain this relationship, this bond, and this affection as it moves forward. Perhaps in the past, such a situation truly existed. And in fact, for some of you, this is not something that ended in the past, but could still be continuing into the present. Yet for those of you who no longer find yourselves in that circumstance, the spread reveals that for a long period of time you devoted not only money, financial, or material support, but also a great deal of your energy, your time, your care, and your efforts to this person. You invested deeply, on both the material and the emotional levels, in order to sustain that bond. For some of you it was money, for others it was time, and for some it was both. The energy is vivid here, as if to say, there was indeed a stage when you poured your heart, your attention, and your dedication into this person. And then, because of certain circumstances, that relationship of mutual benefit reached its conclusion, a cycle closed, and you were placed in a position where you had to pause and reflect. From here, what comes next? What is my next step? While you were still in cooperation, still in business dealings, still studying, still taking part in a program, or while you were regularly showing up in their space as a client, there was always a reason to contact, to meet, to connect. But once that stage ended, once that event closed, the relationship too was pushed into a place where distance was inevitable, where separation occurred, and you no longer had a natural excuse to maintain constant contact. The reading shows that for some of you, at that very moment, A turning point decision presented itself. Should you continue prolonging that cooperation, extending a contract, or maintaining some form of partnership simply for the sake of keeping the connection with this person alive? Because if you chose to continue, it would mean that the relationship, the thread of connection between you, would still remain intact. But if you chose not to, then that path would close, and you would have to accept that the relationship would recede into the background, at least outwardly. That situation forced you into a place of decision, compelled you to choose your direction, even if within your heart there were still lingering entanglements and unresolved emotions. Overall, the energy of this spread paints a very clear picture of the foundation between the two of you. It was never purely about emotions alone, but was also tied to a relationship of mutual benefit, perhaps as client and service provider, as business partners in a transaction, as student and teacher, or in any other form of exchange where there is a natural flow of giving and receiving. Because of this very starting point, the bond between you, even when infused with deep feelings, has always carried a subtle complexity, something that made it difficult to express freely and openly without restraint. Within that context, when the relationship was set upon such defined roles, for example, client and provider, teacher and student, then no matter how much feeling existed beneath the surface, no matter how strongly emotions pulled you toward each other, both of you were compelled to maintain a certain distance, to constantly remind yourselves that you could not, must not, cross beyond a certain point. It was not a lack of love, not an absence of feeling, but rather the weight of the roles themselves, the reality of the situation, that forced both of you to hold steady, to sustain balance, to carefully keep within the boundaries that were pre-established. The cards highlight again and again this word, balance, like an invisible thread stretched between you, reminding both of you to exercise restraint, to stay aware so as not to trespass the invisible line that defined the relationship. For those of you who were not put in a situation where you had to make a direct and final choice, the spread shows that even though the form of the relationship has ended, whether it was a course that finished, a contract that expired, or the simple fact that you are no longer a regular client, the emotional thread still remains. Your heart continues to carry feelings for this person, and in turn, the bond is still there. But from this point forward, it shifts into a new state. You must learn how to balance emotion with reality, to self-adjust so that you may keep the tenderness alive while not breaking the boundaries that were set. In the past, while that relationship still officially existed, there was always what we might call a legitimate reason, a rightful pretext for you and this person to meet, to talk, to connect. If you were the student, you had every reason to go to class, to approach your teacher, to ask questions. If you were the client, you had every reason to visit the shop, to talk, to exchange words naturally. If you were the partner, keeping in touch, calling, sending emails, discussing matters, all of it was proper, all of it had its rightful place in the flow of work. And it was precisely this sense of legitimacy that built a bridge, that opened a door, allowing the two of you to interact, to meet, to sustain a bond without the burden of awkwardness, without the fear of watchful eyes from the outside world. And it was precisely during that period, thanks to that legitimate connection, that the relationship between the two of you settled into a state of harmony and beauty. Even though neither of you could openly acknowledge or declare your feelings, both of you could sense, deeply and unmistakably, the goodwill, the fondness, the appreciation, and the affection flowing from the other side. There was a silent understanding, a subtle recognition that you were both sharing this hidden sentiment, a quiet bond rooted in the heart, even though it could never be spoken aloud or named directly. And yet, because of roles, because of circumstances, neither of you could ever truly reveal or display those emotions on the surface. It was not indifference, it was restraint. Beneath that outer layer, there had been genuine stirrings, authentic vibrations of the heart, tender gestures, unmistakable signs of care and goodwill, all of which you each recognized in the other. One could say the relationship lived within an undefined space, a kind of ambiguity, never publicly declared, never formally recognized, yet overflowing with the quiet certainty that there was affection, that there was admiration, that there was love in the way you looked at one another, in the way you silently stayed connected. However, at some point, an event, a shift, a circumstance arose that brought this relationship to its natural conclusion. For instance, if this person was the owner of a shop, perhaps that shop closed down, or perhaps they ended that line of work and moved on to something else. Or, if the two of you were connected through studies, then the program, the course, or the teacher-student relationship reached its completion, bringing the journey full circle. In other words, the rightful and legitimate framework that had once allowed the two of you to keep that connection alive, simply dissolved. When that reason, that rightful pretext disappeared, it was as though a door closed, and the relationship that had always been sheltered, protected by that framework, was suddenly pushed to its ending. This left both you and that person in a state of confusion and inner conflict. The feelings were still there, strong and undeniable. The yearning to hold onto the bond was still alive, but there was no longer any reasonable excuse, no legitimate doorway through which to step back into contact. The emotions surged, urgent and compelling, yet without that legal bridge, that rightful passage, everything remained suspended, floating in uncertainty, unclear where to move, where to begin, how to rekindle. That is exactly the dominant energy the cards reveal here when we look from the past up until this very present moment. So then, in order to understand more clearly, I wanted to look into what, at this present moment, this person is clinging to so tightly, what they absolutely refuse to change, what they are holding on to and unwilling to let go of. And as I drew the cards, 3 revealed themselves. The first was the Devil. This is the card of bondage, of entrapment, of those invisible chains that hold someone in place, making it so difficult to break free even when they know they are bound. Next appeared the 4 of Cups. This is the card of hesitation, of sitting and staring at an opportunity yet not reaching out to take it, of lingering in that state of half wanting, half resisting. And then, the 3rd card was the Moon, the card of obscurity, of illusion, of emotions that are indistinct and unclear, and of secrets hidden within the shadows. To shed more light, I pulled clarifiers for both the 4 of Cups and the Moon. With the Moon, the clarifying card that appeared was the 5 of Wands. This pairing brought the picture into even sharper focus. This person is in a state of deep inner conflict. On one side, they are held down by invisible bonds, by limitations, by fears, and by habits that are difficult to release. On the other, they are constantly wrestling with themselves, as though engaged in an inner battle, torn between daring to move forward and continuing to allow themselves to be shrouded in uncertainty, in darkness, in illusion. When the Devil, the 4 of Cups, the Moon, and the 5 of Wands all appear together, I see a very clear image of their present state. They are gripping tightly to the stability they believe they need, resisting change with all their might, yet within themselves. Contradictions surge endlessly. They feel the binding chains, they sense that opportunity is right before them, yet they lack the courage to reach out and grasp it. They remain silent, they maintain their distance, but beneath that quiet surface are undercurrents, ceaseless inner storms, relentless struggle between fear and desire, between safety and the pull of something more. Then I drew one more card to clarify the Moon. And what came forth, surprisingly, was the 8 of Cups once again. This card had already appeared earlier, and now it showed itself a second time, emphasizing with even greater force a message of undeniable importance. When I take in the whole spread, even before turning to the oracle, the strongest impression is that these are the words this person longs to speak directly from deep within their heart. If I were to borrow their voice to express it, the message is this: I have once been connected with you, and what I refuse to change, what I cannot let go of, is precisely that connection. I do not want to cut that bond. I want to remain connected with you. This theme repeats again and again throughout the energy of the reading, as though reaffirming itself with each card. In the past, there had been some excuse, some reason, some rightful framework that allowed the two of you to meet, to speak, to spend time together. It might have been a class, a job, a business arrangement, or the roles of teacher and student, client and provider. As long as that framework existed, everything felt natural, everything was justified. You could reach out, you could meet, you could be in each other's presence without hesitation or self-consciousness. But once that excuse was gone, everything suddenly became fragile. And from the depths of their being, what they do not want to change is this: they're yearning to preserve that bond, even though circumstances have stripped away the outer reason that once made it simple. This person is silently admitting that they still want to remain tied to you, still want to be held within the thread of that connection. They do not want to see it vanish. Even if the outer reason to meet has dissolved, their inner desire to keep the link alive burns fiercely. And moreover, there is another aspect, made clear through the appearance of the 4 of Cups, the Moon, and the 5 of Wands. This person is saying, I do not want to have to care about the gaze of others. In the past, when the relationship was safeguarded by that legitimate framework, they had no need to worry about what others might think. A student meeting a teacher, a customer visiting a shop, partners staying in touch, Everything was reasonable, ordinary, unquestionable. No one judged, no one whispered. But now, without that framework, every act of reaching out, every gesture of connection, risks being placed under scrutiny. And what they resist changing is exactly this. They're longing to maintain the bond without being weighed down by judgment, without having to be anxious about how others might perceive it, without being shackled by the opinions of the outside world. All the cards together weave a single story, even though, on the surface, everything has already come to an end, even though the rightful framework that once held the bond in place has dissolved, deep within this person's heart. The one thing they refuse to let go of is that invisible thread of connection with you. They still want to remain attached, they want to linger within this energy, and they yearn for it with such intensity that they would disregard the eyes around them, longing only to stay connected. Yet, when that legitimate framework is no longer there, the act of maintaining the relationship between the two of you becomes more difficult. Because in the past, when you met under the guise of work, of study, or in the roles of client and provider, teacher and student, everything was justified, everything made sense. No one questioned it, no one paid much attention. But once that reason vanished, if the two of you continued to meet privately, face to face without that external cover, or if you continued to stay in personal contact, it suddenly invited the burden of being watched, the pressure of other people's eyes, the worry of being noticed, the fear of being talked about. It is as if every act, once stripped of that rightful bridge, becomes something unusual, something exposed, something that draws attention. That is why what they resist changing, what they long to hold on to, is that earlier time when they didn't have to care about the gaze of others, when there was no fear of judgment. When that rightful title still existed, every meeting, every message, every contact was natural, unquestioned, flowing without any obstacles. But now, things are different, and it makes them feel as though they have lost their freedom, as though the valid reason to stand beside you has been taken away. They mourn that loss, they grieve for it, and they do not want to accept that change. What they truly want is to preserve the state as it once was, the space where the two of you could meet, could communicate, could simply be with each other without any worry, without any hesitation, without the weight of outside eyes. And now, that is exactly the one thing they cannot bear to lose. From another angle, the spread also opens up the possibility that for some of you, this connection once existed within the framework of work or an organization. For instance, it may have been the case that you and this person were colleagues within the same company, or that your relationship was one of hierarchy, superior and subordinate. It could even be that this individual held a position of authority, perhaps as a manager, a director, or someone responsible for overseeing finances or carrying the power of decision-making within the workplace. And you, being within that structure, once connected with them through that role and that environment. In this context, it was the name of work itself that provided the bridge, the rightful reason, the natural condition that allowed the two of you to meet, to interact, to act alongside one another, to appear in the same shared space. But when one of you left that environment, perhaps you moved on to a new position, or perhaps they themselves departed to enter another company, another role, then the reason for meeting, for encountering each other so naturally, disappeared along with it. And this is what caused the bond you once had to loosen, what made the natural opportunities for your paths to cross vanish. Yet once again, the energy of the spread underlines and insists, they still wish to maintain that bond, they still want to hold on to the thread of connection, even though the circumstances have shifted, even though the rightful framework has fallen away. Deep within, they do not want to sever it, they do not wish to release it. The only thing they want to preserve is that connection with you, the bond they treasure and cannot bear to see dissolve. The message that the cards speak so clearly is this person, regardless of the outer circumstances, does not want to cut the tie that exists between the two of you. Even though the rightful excuse to meet, to communicate, to spend time together no longer exists, in the innermost layers of their being, they still long to continue sustaining that thread of connection with you on a personal, private level. In the past, when there was still that legitimate pretext, they had no need to worry about the gaze of others, no reason to hesitate or overthink. Everything flowed naturally, without fear of judgment. But now, when that excuse has been stripped away, every attempt at contact risks attracting attention, every act of reaching out bears the weight of scrutiny, and this makes it feel more difficult, heavier for them to carry. And this is precisely what the spread emphasizes. Within their heart, they want to continue, they wish to remain connected, but outwardly they find themselves facing barriers, stumbling against the constraints of circumstance, forced to consider the opinions of others, the judgment of the outside world, the invisible weight of collective eyes. Another striking point that resurfaces here is the repeated appearance of the Eight of Cups. This card seems to declare that, even though circumstances have pushed them into a position where they might be expected to walk away, to release, in truth, in the very depths of their mind and heart, they have no desire to do so. This person does not want to surrender. They have nurtured this affection for such a long time, allowing it to build, to accumulate, to grow heavier and more intense within them day by day. And now, even though on the surface it appears as if everything is being forced to retreat, they still want to hold on. They still want to cling. They do not want to let these genuine emotions slip away. It is as though they are asking themselves, is there another path, another way forward, another opening to keep the connection with you alive? Is there some means of ensuring that this love does not get extinguished, some way to preserve the bond between you that no longer relies on the legitimate framework of the past? They long to find a direction. They yearn to discover some form, some method through which the feelings they have carried, compressed, and restrained until now can continue to exist, can continue to breathe. What they do not want to change, what they refuse to relinquish, is this. They do not want to abandon love itself. They do not want to extinguish the emotions that grow more powerful and insistent within them. And to illuminate this more deeply, I drew one more card from the Oracle deck. The card that leapt forth, almost as if it could not wait to make its presence known, was meditation. This card delivers a message of soul connection, of listening to the voice that rises from the innermost depths. It shows that at this very moment, this person is being drawn inward, called to retreat into themselves, to listen quietly to their own heart, their own soul. They do not want reason, nor the pressure of the outer world, to drown out the entirety of what they feel. They want to safeguard what originates in the soul's depth, because their feelings for you are not fleeting sparks of desire, not momentary whims, but rather a resonance of the spirit, a communion of hearts. Altogether, the spread paints a vivid picture. This person, even though the rightful excuse to remain bound to you has disappeared, still longs with all their being to hold the connection. They do not want to release it. They do not want to let it fade into forgetfulness. On the contrary, they want to discover a way to keep it alive, to continue it, to let it grow. And within their heart, what anchors them is the sense that this relationship is not merely the meeting of two human beings, but the profound harmony of two souls moving in resonance with one another. This is the very card that so often appears in moments when a soul must become still, when silence and inner retreat are needed in order to turn inward, to once more look directly at what has been accumulating, quietly waiting within the heart. This card speaks like a gentle yet insistent reminder. Pause, take a deep breath, and shine a light inward, because within you there is always a voice, a whisper of the heart, and now is the time to recognize it, to listen to it. It also signals that an illumination, an awakening, something that has long been hidden or unacknowledged, is now rising toward the surface, longing to be seen clearly. In this reading, it is as though this person is borrowing the voice of this card to declare, no matter how many times I turn inward, no matter how often I examine the depths of my own heart, the feelings I hold for you do not change. The more I look inside myself, the more certain I become that these emotions cannot fade, cannot disappear. The one thing I refuse to alter, the one thing I cannot relinquish, is this love itself, this bond of feeling. It is not merely a clinging or a refusal to let go. It is a profound affirmation, a steadfast conviction that what they feel for you does not wither with time, nor diminish with circumstance. And then, when I asked about their thoughts and feelings regarding the relationship as it stands between the two of you, the cards that appeared came forth with a force that was undeniable, carrying a resonance that was both powerful and deeply affirming. The very first card was Judgment, the card of awakening, of resurrection, of that pivotal decision which can change the course of everything. Judgment emerges at the moment when a person can no longer evade the truth, when they must heed the calling of their soul's voice. It heralds not only awakening, not only reckoning, but also the rebirth of something once believed to have ended, a relationship thought to be extinguished, yet still carrying a living flame within, ready to be reignited. Next came the Six of Wands, the card of triumph, of confidence, of the desire to walk forward with head held high, to be seen and acknowledged openly. It reveals that, within their heart, this relationship feels like a victory, something that fills them with pride and something they deeply wish could be recognized. Along with it, I drew an additional clarifier, and the card that appeared was the King of Swords. This is the embodiment of strong intellect, of clarity and decisiveness, of a spirit that seeks to act from a place of wisdom and truth. This pairing reflects that, in their mind, they long to move toward you, but they also want that step to be steady, wise, and well-considered, a step that can both protect and affirm this connection with strength and clarity. And it does not end there. The World also appeared, one of the most powerful cards in the deck, symbolizing fulfillment, completion, wholeness, and the closing of one cycle to open into another. It signals that, for them, this relationship carries immense meaning, as though it is a perfect circle, something they long to complete with you, to reach the final destination together. When I drew a clarifier for the World, what emerged was the Two of Cups. This is the card of love, of harmony, of soul connection. Two people gazing into each other's eyes and recognizing that they are each other's counterpart, each other's missing half. The World appearing alongside the Two of Cups forms an unmistakably clear message. In their eyes, you are the ideal partner, the perfect counterpart with whom to complete a life cycle and step into a new, radiant chapter of fulfillment. Finally, to bring further light to judgment, I pulled another card, and it was the Knight of Swords. This is the energy of swiftness, of decisive action, of bold, relentless forward motion, even if at times it carries with it haste, even if it feels driven by an urgency that cannot be restrained. This shows that within them lies not only awakening and realization, but also an irrepressible desire to act, to break the silence, to rush toward you with all the force of their conviction, to make this love known and to affirm it without hesitation. Looking at the whole picture, the presence of both the Knight of Swords and the King of Swords together so vividly reflects the essence of this person in their current stage. They are at once a being of reason, someone who longs to maintain control, to deliberate carefully, to safeguard and protect this connection with clarity and wisdom, and yet, at the very same time, they are also someone consumed by a burning desire to come toward you, to act swiftly, to no longer endure the torment of hesitation. The fusion of judgment, the Six of Wands, the World, the Two of Cups, the King of Swords, and the Knight of Swords speaks louder than words. To them, this relationship is nothing less than destiny, a bond they are certain cannot be altered. And the one desire they hold above all is to walk with you toward a conclusion that is whole, fulfilled, and recognized openly. First and foremost, the appearance of judgment alongside the Knight of Swords conveys an energy that is urgent, potent, and undeniable. This person truly wishes to move toward you once more, to push this relationship forward, to bring it into motion again. This is a direct message, showing that in their heart at this very moment, when they think of the bond between you, they are holding onto a clear and powerful longing, to renew it, to resurrect it, to set foot again on the path that was once paused. And yet, intertwined with that burning desire lies a pull of inner conflict. They ask themselves, should I move forward? Is it right to begin again? For they are fully aware that once there had been a name, a framework, a rightful reason that allowed you to meet, to connect. But now that framework no longer exists, and to step forward on a purely personal path would mean confronting obstacles that cannot be ignored. There is something, an invisible barrier, a wall unseen but felt, that makes private meetings between the two of you heavy with difficulty. This person senses, with striking clarity, that to continue on, they must overcome those barriers, and it is this very truth that leaves them caught between yearning and hesitation, between wanting with all their soul and pausing at the threshold of action. Nevertheless, despite everything, the energy of judgment and the Knight of Swords resounds with such clarity and decisiveness. They want to move forward, they want to renew, they long to be bound to you once again. That desire is so intense that it cannot be ignored, it cannot be denied. And because of that, within them there exists a state that feels like a pause, a moment of silence, a suspension to contemplate. How can they continue? How can they approach you without having the same legitimate reason as before? Yet if they can cross beyond that layer of hesitation, their feelings for you emerge unmistakably. The times you two once spent together, the moments you shared, the bond you nurtured, for them, those were days overflowing with happiness. They are not simply cheerful memories, but experiences that brought them immeasurable value. They feel that they have learned so much, that they have received lessons, emotions, spiritual gifts that cannot be replaced. That is why, when they look back, they realize even more that this relationship is far from small or insignificant. It has left powerful imprints within them. It has been a source of happiness, something that made their life feel richer and more complete. And so, what they most deeply desire now, no matter the difficulties or entanglements, is to once again draw near to you, to continue the journey that their heart has never wanted to abandon. And there is one more truth the cards reveal with striking clarity. This person no longer seeks to maintain this connection merely through past legitimate reasons, but now, through their own personal will, through their own determination, they want to claim this bond with you. In the past, there were logical circumstances that allowed you to meet, to be together, but even when those reasons no longer exist, in their heart remains the yearning, through sheer strength of will, to hold fast to this relationship. This is what they're affirming, a strong, unwavering desire that says, I truly want, by my own choice, by my own aspiration, to have you in my life. And that truth becomes even more illuminated when the world appears together with the Two of Cups. This pair of cards paints a picture of absolute wholeness. Two people, two souls, bound together as one unified being, completing the world of each other. This person yearns for that fulfillment, longing to step with you into a perfect circle of completion, a place where love is no longer unfinished, where the bond transforms into a world that is full, enduring, and complete. The spread also reveals that although the love between you is strong and sincere, expressing it directly, affirming it openly, or together declaring the relationship still does not come easily. You love each other, you understand one another, yet there remains a barrier that prevents both of you from reaching that final confirmation, becoming lovers, becoming a couple, or stepping fully into a world of unshakable connection. Everything feels as though it lingers at a distance filled with longing, yet not quite able to be touched. Still, from deep within their heart, they are already utterly clear. What they desire is a world where you truly belong to each other, where this connection is no longer just a hidden emotion, but a bond made real. They want to claim you, to claim this love so that it becomes a living part of their life, so that their world feels whole. And they do not hesitate to confess, that is the greatest yearning they are carrying inside. When an oracle card was drawn for further insight, the card that appeared was release, the card of letting go. But here, letting go does not mean they want to part from you. Not at all. On the contrary, it carries a much deeper meaning. They want to release the restraints, to let go of the silence, to free what they have been holding so tightly inside, but could never say. All this time, the feelings they hold for you, the words left unspoken, the emotions kept hidden deep within, they have clung to them, guarding them in silence. And now, what they long for is liberation. To let it pour out, to let it flow, so that this love is no longer just a secret in the shadows, but something true, something tangible, something that stands openly between the two of you. All of the messages intertwine and converge to affirm one thing with absolute clarity. This person does not want to lose you. They do not want to let go of this love. They want, through their own inner strength, to hold on to this relationship and carry it toward a fulfilling conclusion, toward a world where the two of you are completely united. They also want to release the barriers that have kept them locked in silence, so that these emotions can finally be freed, so that this love can be expressed and allowed to flow into reality. And then, what becomes undeniable is this: they have not been able to speak their true feelings to you. They have kept silent, holding it all inside, never confessing. The deeper reason lies in the fact that, in the past, there was still a legitimate bond, a rightful pretext that allowed you to meet, to connect, to spend time together. Because of that, they never needed to put their feelings into words. They never had to lay bare their private emotions, since that excuse alone was enough to keep you two connected, to give you time together, to sustain the link. And so, they chose to hide their feelings, to let them sleep quietly in the hidden corner of their heart. But now, when that pretext no longer exists, when that reasonable doorway has closed, they have realized that they no longer want to keep concealing it. They no longer wish to bury their emotions in the shadows. They no longer want to clutch these feelings tightly and keep them only for themselves. They want liberation. They long to set down the burden of silence, to release the emotions that have been compressed for so long. In other words, what they yearn for is to reveal themselves to you, to speak the truth, that deep within their heart, they have always held a profound love for you, no matter the obstacles or circumstances. They want to break down the wall of silence. They want to deliver these feelings directly to you in a way that is personal, authentic, and unmistakably clear. Even though there are still barriers now, even though there are still things that keep them from confessing openly, what they want to declare is this: they no longer want to hide. They no longer want this love to be locked away inside. They want you to know, they want you to feel, that this love has always been there and still lives within them. The cards emphasize with undeniable clarity that, for this person, the greatest need right now is liberation from restraint, from silence, from the weight of unspoken truths. What they long for most is the chance to finally voice what has been hidden away for so long, to step into a world where the two of you are truly united, where you truly belong to one another. That is their deepest yearning, a world where this bond becomes real, where two souls merge and love no longer needs to be veiled or suppressed. And when asking further about what stands as the obstacle, what is it that makes it difficult for them to move forward, the spread reveals this very clearly as well. For some of you, it is the past bond of convenience, a relationship tied to work, study, or transactional dealings that has now become the barrier. It prevents them from feeling free enough to confess their true emotions. For others, there may be actual boundaries and restrictions that hinder them from taking the next step. These could be societal circumstances, responsibilities, or a specific reason that holds them back. Yet regardless of what the obstacle may be, the message remains unwaveringly clear. In their heart, the love they hold for you has never grown cold. What they yearn for most is that one day, they might overcome those barriers, to finally be able to confess, to reconnect, and to step into the world where you two truly belong to one another. Here, the Chariot appears, along with the Seven of Cups. It is evident that they are carrying many things within their heart, feelings that revolve around the very obstacles they are facing. Then, the Ten of Cups also makes its presence known, and when I drew additional cards for further clarity, what came forth were the Two of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Ace of Wands. Taken together, these cards illuminate one powerful truth. The greatest obstacle they perceive is that this relationship cannot exist solely as the private world of just the two of you. The energy here reveals the presence of external influences, societal roles, expectations, the watchful eyes around them. This person feels as though they cannot simply live for themselves because this relationship is tied to a certain context, a position, a responsibility that they carry. For example, if this were the bond between teacher and student, then clearly it is not just about you, but about many other students as well. And when placed within that framework, to single you out, to openly grant you a special place in their life, becomes something profoundly difficult for them to do. Or if this is a relationship that resembles that of an artist and a fan, then the existence of other admirers, the gaze of the public, the constant observation and judgment from those around them, all of this becomes a factor they cannot ignore. They know that they carry an image, a role before many people, and within that role they must maintain a certain moderation. They must impose boundaries upon themselves. They must pass their own stern judgments. They live under the pressure that they cannot afford to step beyond the lines, that they cannot act in a way which might invite criticism, or appear unfair, or compromise the balance they are expected to uphold. This makes it clear that this person is by no means careless or reckless. They view their own position with an exacting strictness. They impose upon themselves the standard that, because they stand in a place of responsibility, they cannot casually reveal personal emotions. And it is for this very reason that they experience this barrier as a great wall of separation, one that holds them back, one that forces their reason to restrain their heart even as their heart longs to move forward. Another example is if you are working in the same company as them, then the relationship between the two of you will inevitably touch upon factors related to hierarchy, professional responsibilities, colleague dynamics, and those unspoken rules within the workplace. All of these aspects become burdens they carry, making them both long to move forward yet simultaneously force themselves to keep a distance in order to protect their position. The Chariot reveals that deep inside, they still want to advance, to break through everything in pursuit of love and connection. The Ace of Wands emphasizes that yearning for a fresh start, the desire to ignite passion and open a brand new chapter with you. Yet at the same time, the Seven of Cups and the Queen of Swords speak of hesitation, careful weighing, uncertainty, and difficult choices. They find themselves trapped in the tug-of-war between heart and reason. On one hand, they dream of a world where you two are in harmony, where love feels whole and complete, just as the Ten of Cups suggests, a spiritual family, a fulfilling emotional union. On the other hand, the presence of countless external elements makes it impossible for them to simply step forward. Therefore, it becomes clear that the barriers they face are not necessarily due to a lack of feelings or courage, but rather because of circumstances, social standing, responsibilities, and the watchful eyes of those around them. What tears them apart inside is the question, how to preserve the integrity, the role, and the image they must uphold, while at the same time not having to suppress the profound love they carry for you. And that is the very dilemma, the greatest obstacle they feel unable to overcome for now. I can sense very clearly that this person is approaching the matter primarily from the perspective of their position, their role, and the standpoint they currently occupy. They feel that, given where they are right now, it is extremely difficult to establish a private connection, difficult to move toward a personal relationship with you. Because in their eyes, their position is inseparable from their responsibilities and from the image they must maintain before others. They are compelled to impose strict judgments upon themselves. They are acutely aware that if they were to form a personal bond with you, it would not only involve you and them, but it would also inevitably attract the gaze and scrutiny of those around. And this very factor, the watchful eyes of others, has become a burden they cannot simply dismiss. For that reason, they force themselves to remain disciplined, to make rigid, almost unforgiving decisions, because their role and their position seem to deny them the freedom to easily step outside the frame. What the reading highlights next is that when it comes to the relationship between the two of you, if there is truly a wish to move forward, if there is truly a desire for this connection to evolve further, then almost certainly there must be a restart, a renewal. It cannot remain as it is and still continue to grow. They feel vividly that if things stay as they are now, it will be extremely difficult to take the next step, because the barriers of circumstance, of position, of external scrutiny will not allow it. And so, the message coming through the cards is this: if the two of you want to go further, if you want development, then there must be change, a laying down of a new foundation, as though beginning all over again from the start. Yet they also recognize that this is by no means simple. It is tied to difficulty, to trial and challenge. For their current position, or the environment in which they are living, makes beginning anew far from easy. They understand that in order to move forward with you, they must change not only within themselves, but also in the very circumstances surrounding both of you. And this, in turn, means accepting the possibility of major upheaval, changing the way others perceive them, altering the environment the two of you are in. Such transformations weigh heavily upon them, for they know they cannot be taken lightly, and yet they also know that without them, progress is all but impossible. And when considering this factor, they realize that the number of eyes surrounding them, the sheer amount of external attention directed toward the relationship between the two of you, is overwhelming. There are so many gazes, so many attentions, so many constraints, that they feel moving forward is no longer just a personal decision, but one that inevitably involves a vast circle of people around them. Because of this, when they think about going further with you, they also recognize that it would mean having to accept starting over on an entirely new foundation, one that is filled with difficulties and challenges ahead. And this is precisely the great barrier that the reading is revealing. It is not that they do not want to advance, but rather that they feel, deeply and unmistakably, that unless the circumstances are changed at their very root, unless there is a true fresh beginning, then moving forward will be nearly impossible. Here, the reading emphasizes once again that altering the current state of affairs is indeed something immensely difficult for them. I can sense clearly that they resemble a figure of great influence, someone who carries within themselves a role upon which many people place their trust, their hopes, even their happiness. They are like a pillar, a source of comfort, someone capable of soothing, of filling others with emotions, even of bringing spiritual satisfaction to those around them. Because of this, they are standing in a position that is anything but ordinary, a position symbolic, weighty, and tied inseparably to the expectations of the collective. And this very reality has created an immense burden they must shoulder, a weight that makes every personal choice reverberate far beyond themselves, touching all who look to them, and that is why the act of change feels so daunting and so heavy. Therefore, when they think about changing the current state, about taking one step further, it feels to them as though doing so would mean stepping out of that established position, as though it might lead to disappointing many people, or even carry the weight of betraying or letting down those who have placed their trust and expectations upon them. This is not something small or trivial, and that is precisely why they perceive it as such a significant obstacle. It is not that they cannot overcome it, nor that they are unwilling to, but rather that at this moment, within their heart, all of these matters stand before them as a colossal challenge, pressing heavily upon them, forcing them into careful, painstaking consideration. In other words, they are not denying the possibility of moving forward, but they are genuinely feeling that this barrier is too vast to be crossed lightly or without consequence. And now we move into the final part, the recent shifts in their emotions, the inner changes that are unfolding within them. When the question was posed in the reading, a card immediately jumped out of the deck on its own. That card was the Knight of Pentacles. Following it came the King of Wands. Clearly, what emerges here is the energy of court cards, and this indicates that their inner state is no longer stagnant, but is undergoing true movements, vivid and alive. Then came the Nine of Swords, a card heavy with tension, representing restless nights, anxieties, obsessions, and worries that haunt the mind. I can feel strongly that this change within them is not simple at all. It is like a wave crashing against their heart and their thoughts, stirring them deeply. Here, I will draw additional clarifying cards for each one to bring greater insight. First, for the Knight of Pentacles, and accompanying it came the Four of Wands. This reveals that although they remain deliberate, still advancing with cautious steps marked by steadfastness and patience, in their heart they are longing for a state of stability, a secure foundation, a place of belonging and safety. They are yearning to create something enduring, something lasting, something that offers true grounding and permanence in their connection with you. When I look into this spread, I can feel with great clarity the strong will radiating from this person, almost as if they are whispering their messages directly to me. Overall, what arises from their energy is the image of endings and beginnings, two opposing streams yet flowing seamlessly together. It is as though they are emphasizing that a certain cycle has reached its conclusion, and from that very point of ending, they long to begin anew, to sow seeds again into fresh soil in their life. First, the Knight of Pentacles emerges. This person has always been the kind who perseveres, someone who moves step by step with steadiness and endurance. They are not hasty, not reckless, but instead build everything through gradual effort, slow yet unwavering. Every brick, every foundation in their life has been laid through diligence, discipline, and patience. It can be said that the entirety of their current standing, their life, and all that they possess has been created as the result of such a long, painstaking process. And yet, at this very moment, they wish to give something away, to release part of what they have built in order to begin something new. It is like farmland that, after the harvest, must be tilled again, the soil turned over to prepare for new seeds. It is they themselves who are speaking out, declaring that they want to bring one chapter to a close and open another journey ahead. And here lies the challenge they are facing, the difficulty of beginning again from the very start. Leaving behind the familiar path, closing the door on a safe stretch of road to step into uncharted ground always carries anxiety, risks, and inner conflict. Yet within them, a powerful current of change has recently stirred. Even though they know it will be difficult, even though they recognize that challenges await, deep inside a longing has arisen, a desire to dare, to step forward, to test themselves by venturing once beyond the borders of safety. This is a stirring that cannot be ignored, a calling that moves them ever more deeply, fueling a resolve that grows stronger and stronger within their heart. The path they have walked up until now, all those slow and steady steps, they now wish to bring to a pause, as though closing a completed book in order to begin writing a brand new one. And what they long to plant this time is tied directly to the Four of Wands, the card so often called the card of marriage, of celebration. This is a card of union, of stability, of shared joy. When this card appears, it reveals that within their innermost thoughts, what they wish to sow again, what they long to build anew, is none other than a home, a bond, a solid foundation with someone they can truly belong to. Look closely at the imagery of this card. Blossoms bursting open, radiant and magnificent, so abundant that they evoke a sense of unease. The flowers are so immense they seem to rival the house in the background, flowers blooming larger than the roof itself, unfurling in a lavish, almost overwhelming display. Even the blossoms in the garden are enormous, spreading everywhere, filling the scene to the point of excess, leaving one both awestruck and slightly intimidated. This very sense of too much carries a message. The longing for connection, for a home, within this person is so abundant, so intense, so overflowing that even they themselves feel overwhelmed, unsettled by the sheer weight of their own desire. The energy here is clearly that of a crossing point, a merging of currents, the ending of an old journey and the secret nurturing of a new beginning. They no longer wish to remain standing in the safe place, repeating the familiar steps. Instead, they want to step forward, to challenge themselves, to live fully in alignment with the deepest yearning of their heart, the desire for togetherness, for shared life, for a home overflowing with blossoms in bloom, even if that vision feels so immense, so daunting that it makes them tremble. Yet it is precisely in that trembling that we see they are living in truth with themselves, and it is in that quiver of vulnerability that we recognize this calling as unstoppable, a force that compels them forward. This person, who in the past often kept their emotions hidden, who would tightly hold back their own thoughts and feelings, unwilling to speak, afraid to reveal themselves, is now being powerfully urged to let go of that concealment, to release their grip, and to dare to offer you fully everything they have been carrying inside their heart. It is as if they are ready to plant a seed, and that seed is none other than the love, the sincere longing they wish to give to you. And when you accept that seed, the two of you will nurture it together, tending to it with care until it grows into a magnificent blossom, so vast and radiant that it could surpass even the size of a house, an image symbolizing a shared future. A future overflowing with happiness, with hope, with a bond so enduring it reaches beyond the boundaries of ordinary imagination. Truly, as I read this part, I feel shivers, goosebumps rising, because the energy that comes through is so strong, so unmistakable, like a firm declaration from them that they genuinely want to bring this into reality. With this person, it is clear that they have painstakingly built, accumulated, and cultivated so much over the years. They have walked the path of persistence, of security, of stability. Yet now, all of that, in this very moment, it seems they are ready to set down, ready to close, in order to direct the entirety of their heart and feelings toward you. The desire to release, to begin a new journey, to walk alongside you on a path that belongs to just the two of you, that is what is rising strongly within them. It is as though they are saying, everything I have worked so hard to build until now, I do not hesitate to set aside, because what I truly want is to begin again, together with you. And there is another point here, for this card also carries an important message. It may be that around them there exist watchful eyes, judgments cast by society, by family, by the outside world. They are still conscious of the fact that there are eyes following, that there are words and opinions that must be weighed. Yet the card emphasizes that all of those external gazes no longer hold such importance. What they truly desire is to reach a space where the two of you no longer have to worry about the eyes outside, no longer have to be confined by the frameworks imposed by others. A place where the two of you can freely begin anew, freely build from the ground up, just the two of you alone. A new beginning, courageous, filled with longing, and wholly devoted to this love. For example, imagine that in the past there once existed between the two of you a connection defined by certain positions, statuses, or roles. Perhaps one of you was the head of a company while the other worked there, and later one of you decided to leave. Or perhaps it was the bond between teacher and student, where one guided and the other learned. Or even a connection like that between a fan and an artist, a singer, or an actor. These kinds of relationships, when looking back, seem to have existed before. But now, what this person longs for is to cast off all of those titles, those labeled roles, in order to begin anew with you, to start again upon a completely fresh foundation, no longer bound by the old positions of the past. They yearn to go to a distant place, somewhere no one knows the two of you, somewhere free from the scrutiny of watchful eyes and the whispers of the outside world. In that place, the two of you could live openly and authentically, no longer burdened by how others might perceive you, and together begin building something entirely new. For instance, if once your connection was formed through a shared classroom, then in the vision they now hold, the two of you might leave that place behind and together open your own small classroom, a space belonging solely to the two of you. A beginning that is deeply personal, free, and brimming with freshness. And within that vision, they believe that the happiness the two of you could create together would be so immense that nothing could compare. It would be like a colossal flower blooming in full glory, a radiant joy surpassing anything they had painstakingly built before. For so long they have lived with endurance, with steps that were steady and safe, but the happiness they believe will blossom from starting again with you carries a strength and beauty far greater, so much so that it leaves no room for doubt. It is a conviction that burns brightly, an absolute certainty in the depths of their heart that, if they could begin again with you, that would be the greatest happiness of all. And then, the cards of the Nine of Swords, the Two of Swords, and the Four of Swords appear. Together, this trio conveys a message with absolute clarity. The Nine of Swords reveals a long period of torment, anxiety, endless worry, nights without sleep, and an unrelenting inner struggle. The Two of Swords brings forth the image of hesitation, indecision, standing at a crossroads, too fearful to take a step, too uncertain to make the final choice. Yet the Four of Swords comes to affirm, all of those days have now reached their conclusion. This is the moment when rest has been enough, when retreat has run its course and they have stepped out from the prison of their own fears and anxieties. They are prepared now, they are ready. The battle here is not one of swords clashing or a violent war, but rather the readiness to face, the readiness to act, the willingness to step out of the endless loop of worry and avoidance. What they endured in the past was a long season of wrestling with the mind, but now the card makes it clear they have gathered the strength to bring that phase to an end. This person is ready for the next step, ready to confront, ready to begin, ready to join with you in writing a new chapter. This is the decisive message of the cards. The time of anguish has ended, the time of preparation has been completed, and ahead lies the journey of action, the journey of daring to live in alignment with their heart. And then, the King of Wands emerges. At first, I felt the need for further clarification, so I drew this card to shed more light, and when combined with the message that the time of torment has ended, everything becomes illuminated. The message here is powerful, resounding. This person is affirming to themselves that they will become a new leader, someone standing firmly upon their own feet in an entirely different path, in a brand new chapter of their life. I will rise to lead once again, but this time upon a new road, with you by my side. That is the essence, the energy radiating from this card, a vow of strength, courage, and determination carried deep within their being. This also means that when they envision a future with you, they see it as starting all over again from zero. Yet, even if they must begin from the very beginning, they hold within themselves enough determination and strength of spirit to rise, to stand once more in the very place they once occupied, to preserve their steadiness, to reclaim their standing and success as before, perhaps even surpassing it. There is a vow within them that no matter how many times they must start again, they will rise each time with every ounce of their strength, refusing to accept defeat, returning to themselves in their most radiant, most powerful essence. This is a resolve that has been cemented, a determination so fierce that nothing can shake it. And so, the change now unfolding in their heart is truly immense. In the past, they wavered, drowning in uncertainties about this relationship with you, weighing whether they should sacrifice everything in order to move forward. But now, the message they send is unmistakable. They have gathered the courage to let go of it all, to dare to cast aside everything that once held them back, and to be ready to devote all their energy, their emotions, and even their future entirely to the path of walking with you. They have, in truth, made their choice, that this love is worthy of sacrificing everything else. From there, the King of Wands reveals itself, showing that within them now burns a mighty flame, passion, drive, aspiration, all of it directed toward you. They want to begin a new life with you. They want to build a new success, and this longing has become the fierce force propelling them forward each and every day. This is the energy of determination, of the blazing desire to live fully and to love wholeheartedly in a brand new journey. And with this, I will bring the reading for those of you who chose pile 1 to a close. If there is anything in this reading that made your heart stir, I hope you will leave a small message, even just a simple symbol, to let me know that the message has truly reached you. I always cherish and look forward to your sharings because they are what make this journey more meaningful than ever. May you always carry enough peace to hear the voice of your own heart and enough courage to step forward toward the things that are truly worthy of belonging to you. Until we meet again in the next readings. Hello to those of you who chose pile 2. Thank you for waiting. Now I will begin the reading for those who selected the second pile. May this spread bring you healing, fresh awareness, and moments filled with love. The theme here is the shifts in emotions that have recently been unfolding within your person. First, let us take a look at the current state of the relationship between the two of you. The cards that appeared are the King of Pentacles, the Tower, and the Five of Wands. The clarifiers that came alongside are the Ace of Wands, the Seven of Wands, and an additional card from the Oracle deck to illuminate the message further. When observing the overall flow of these cards, the energy comes through with striking clarity. Your relationship has at some point reached a peak, a place of fulfillment, as though the two of you together had built a solid foundation, a bond carrying its own distinct value and meaning. Whether or not you have explicitly called this connection a romantic partnership, what is evident is that a clear shape, a stable structure of relationship, had already taken form. It might not have required spoken words such as "we are in love," yet in energy, both of you had already regarded one another as beloveds, as companions, as an essential part of each other's life. This is exactly what the King of Pentacles points to: the maturity, the stability, the durability of this bond. However, alongside this, the Tower makes its appearance, revealing a sudden upheaval, an unexpected event that has shaken what once seemed so solid. Something has occurred that forced both of you to pause, to be interrupted, or at the very least to place a break within the flow of the relationship. The Five of Wands echoes this, reflecting conflict, clashes, perhaps disagreements in perspective, misunderstandings, or even external challenges that demanded the two of you confront them head-on, no longer able to pretend they did not exist. And the Seven of Wands, appearing next to the Tower, further amplifies this image, the state of defense, of resistance, as though one of you, or perhaps both, has had to stand firm, to brace yourselves, to protect what is dear in the face of overwhelming pressure and turbulent change. Yet in the midst of all this collapse and trial, the Ace of Wands emerges like a seed of new life. It signals that from the ashes, from the seeming end brought by the fall, there still lies the potential for rebirth, for a new flame to ignite. Even though the relationship may have been interrupted, even forced to stop, there remains within it the seed of a beginning, a chance for the two of you to renew this bond, to create together from the start once more. And the energy of the Oracle card reinforces this, affirming that even though there has been a reset, even though there was a moment where things had to halt, that very pause itself has opened the door to a new possibility, a different path, an opportunity for the two of you to find a deeper way of connecting. Put simply, though carrying immense weight, the spread is telling us this. The relationship once reached a stage of maturity and stability, then was suddenly disrupted by some upheaval or conflict. Yet that disruption was not the final end. It was more like a reset, a necessary pause so that both could recognize what truly matters and from there kindle a new flame, a fresh beginning infused with passion and determination. And this is not because one of you lost feeling, nor because either of you grew weary or fell out of love. The message here shows with great clarity that it was something external, something unexpected from outside, an objective factor intruding that forced the relationship, which until then had been flowing steadily, to come to a halt. At that moment, the two of you already shared a connection that had taken on a clear shape, had become its own distinct form, and within both your hearts there was a wish to continue, to keep walking together along that path. But then, suddenly, something from outside struck, like a powerful wind uprooting a tree, compelling you to face the situation, either to stop or to be forced to lay everything down and start anew, as though an external hand had interfered, shaken the foundation, and demanded that the relationship be reset. And in that very moment, both of you were thrown into an agonizing struggle. Deep within, each of you longed to remain together, to continue walking the path you had already shared, yet the final decision that was made stood in complete opposition to that desire. There were fierce battles within, painful torn thoughts whispering, I truly want to continue, I want to stay by their side. And yet, the outcome reached was one that went against the heart. As though in the end, instead of choosing to remain, both of you were forced into the decision of separation. And this was not because the feelings had faded, but because external circumstances left no other choice. It may have been pressure from family, from society, from some sudden upheaval, an unforeseen interference that abruptly cut off the path you both were meant to walk. In the depths of the heart, there remain words unspoken, restrained. I want to be beside you. I want to continue. I do not want to leave. And yet, at the same time, another voice resounds. I cannot stay. I am not allowed to say it. I cannot insist on remaining any longer. This clash of opposing voices created a torment so intense it gnawed at the very soul. And looking deeper still, the cards reveal that the root cause may be larger than the matter of love itself. It seems as though a mission, a heavy responsibility, or an inescapable obligation unexpectedly came upon you or upon your person. It is like a calling that could not be denied, a burden laid upon the shoulders by fate itself, compelling the path of love to be set aside. This interruption was not a choice of the heart, but rather a circumstance that had to be borne, a destined interference that pushed the two of you into letting go, even though within, neither of you ever wished to part. And indeed, this is appearing with striking clarity. For example, in the case of your person, they may have been entrusted with a position, a responsibility, a role, such as in their work at a new task, a new appointment that forced them to begin again, to take on, to shoulder immediately. The sudden arrival of this responsibility is what caused the relationship between the two of you to no longer be able to continue as it once did, forcing it into pause, forcing it into a reconfiguration. It is as though a powerful voice from the outside declared, this is what must be done. It cannot be delayed. This responsibility must be fulfilled now. And as a result, The connection between the two of you was compelled to undergo an unexpected reset. In this case, the change appears as a new mission, a new role handed over, and your person had no choice but to step up to become the one who leads, the one who takes charge, the one who carries the primary responsibility. For some, this may be directly tied to career, an important project, a new role, a leadership position demanding their entire focus and energy. Yet for others, it may not lie in the realm of work at all, but instead belong to family or personal life. For example, in their family something may have happened to their parents, their siblings, or other relatives, and your person was compelled to become the main pillar, the one who shoulders the duty, who must pour their strength and time into family, into those they love. This leaves them unable to dedicate themselves wholly to the relationship, and thus it was forced to pause, forced to recede into the background. This image is illuminated even further by the oracle card that appears here. This card carries the meaning of nurturing. It speaks of something, someone, or a situation that must be cared for, supported, cultivated in order to grow, in order to thrive. And this responsibility of nurturing has been placed into your person's hands. This is not simply an obligation, but feels like a destined trial, a path that they must walk, a task that they cannot refuse. They must dedicate the fullness of their being to planting, to tending, to ensuring that what has been entrusted to them is able to develop. And it is precisely because of this that your relationship has had to endure a pause, a restart, because their priority in this moment has been entirely redirected toward the weight of responsibility that fate has placed upon their shoulders. Therefore, I see with absolute clarity that it is not a matter of fading feelings, nor a shift arising from within, but rather external factors, burdens of responsibility, unexpected roles suddenly thrust upon them, that have driven the relationship into a state where it had to pause, had to be reset. Here, the energy of nurturing emphasizes that there is something immense, something vital, a life, a situation, a mission, that your person has been compelled to dedicate themselves to entirely, and that has become the very center of their existence at this time. Perhaps among those of you listening, there will be cases that mirror this very scenario. The card shows unmistakably that in your person's world, something has arisen that requires care, requires cultivation, requires growth. And above all, it is they who must stand at the center, they who must shoulder the main role in tending to it, with no option to escape, no way to turn away. For example, in their work, they may have been entrusted with the responsibility of training, developing people, or leading a project or field that demands their full devotion and steady nurturing. Or perhaps they were presented with a rare opportunity for their company to expand, for their organization to grow in scale, and they themselves must be the one to lead, to take the reins of responsibility. That opportunity, that duty, arrived suddenly, but it was one they were bound to grasp, one they could not refuse or ignore. And it is precisely from this that a distance has arisen between the two of you, a separation that was difficult to avoid. It feels like an invisible wall has been erected, not because the feelings have diminished, but because reality has insisted upon it. This is not something they wished for, not something they chose, but because of circumstances, because of duty, because of the weight of standing at the center of nurturing or fostering something greater, they were forced to temporarily set your relationship aside, or at the very least press reset upon it, pausing just long enough to focus on the mission that has been placed firmly upon their shoulders. It can be said that the relationship between the two of you had indeed been nurtured to a fairly solid point. It had reached a certain stage of maturity, a stability that could be clearly felt. And yet, from that point, an upheaval arrived and forced both of you to accept, we must reset. Not because the feelings went astray, not because one of you lost love, but because an external burden, a responsibility, a duty was placed upon them, something they could not refuse. And the important thing here is that this was not born of their own choice. It was not a burning desire of their heart, not something they longed to do out of personal will, but rather something of the nature of a command. It was as if they were designated, entrusted, assigned to carry this burden, and from then on had no option left but to accept it and fulfill it. This was obligation, responsibility, duty. And it is precisely this binding force that has deeply affected the course of your love, forcing it into pause, making it go through a reset, even though within, neither of you ever truly wanted to let go. The cards are speaking this message with great clarity. Now let us look back at what has happened in the past between you, in order to understand more fully the state of the present. Because as I see it, many of you who chose pile 2 are falling into circumstances where, that you did not want separation, did not want to stop, you were nevertheless compelled to face an unexpected situation, forced to reset the relationship. It is as though the heart did not want to part, yet circumstance drove you to accept an interruption. In the past spread, the cards that appeared were the Queen of Pentacles, the Three of Swords, and the Chariot. Here, the Queen of Pentacles reflects steadiness, a stable energy of care, nurturing, support, as though this relationship once carried a strong bond, sustained by attentiveness, devotion, and the effort of building, whether from one side or from both. Yet, alongside it appears the Three of Swords, the card of heartbreak, sorrow, separation, wounds of the heart, showing clearly that in the past, there was indeed a deep pain. It could have been misunderstanding, it could have been betrayal, or simply a painful truth that caused both hearts to crack. When I drew a clarifying card for the Queen of Pentacles, the Three appeared, carrying the energy of interference, intrusion, the sign of a third element. As though there was the presence of another person, or some force not born from the two of you, yet directly influencing the relationship. Then, when I drew a clarifying card for the Chariot, the Eight of Cups emerged. The Eight of Cups is the card of letting go, of turning one's back on what was once cherished, walking away even though feelings remain. Combined with the Chariot, the card of moving forward, of having no choice, but to press on, it strongly emphasizes that in the past, one of you was placed in a situation where you had to leave, had to choose another path. Not because love had ended, but because of circumstance, because of compulsion, because something stronger, beyond personal desire, forced that decision. And when I sought additional messages from the Oracle deck, what appeared served only to affirm even more strongly. Within this relationship, there had indeed been intervention from outside, a third hand, a force, or a fated event. It may have been connected to the responsibility of nurturing, of caring for someone, or of growing something, such as obligations to family, to work, or to an important mission that your person was compelled to bear. And it was precisely what others might call success as defined by society, by family, or perhaps by a third party, that became the very reason this relationship had to pause, had to be reset. This makes me feel very clearly that, in the past, your person seemed to be summoned, pulled onto a path that was not truly chosen by their heart, but rather a borrowed path, an imposition placed upon them by the expectations of others. And it was that very interference that lit the spark, forcing your relationship, which had been nurtured, tended, cared for, to enter a painful turning point, to face separation, to halt, even though the feelings remained. And it is because of all these things that your present relationship has become what it is now. The energy here shows unmistakably that both of you are still being pulled along, still haunted, still unable to entirely cut free from the shadow and the love that remains between you. Each of you still carries within the depths of your heart the lingering echoes of this bond, still held fast even though reality has shifted. Especially for your person, it seems they remain bound, tied up in duty, in circumstances, in matters that they are compelled to devote themselves to completely. They are caught within it to such an extent that escaping is nearly impossible, and for that reason the distance between the two of you has grown wider and wider. This has also left you with no choice but to continue walking alone. In the past, you once accompanied them, once walked side by side, once shared precious moments together. But then, because of external interference, because of unforeseen circumstances, you were thrust into a position where you had to continue on by yourself, forced to leave behind the companionship that once was. And perhaps the most painful part of all is that you had no time to prepare your heart for this. It came suddenly, like a storm sweeping through, leaving you behind with emptiness and a deep hollow ache. Throughout that entire period, the feelings you had so painstakingly cultivated, the sincere emotions you entrusted to this person, you could not let them go. You could not say that you had set them down, neatly folded them away. No, you still carried them within your heart, still held on completely to all that had been gathered, and with all of those emotions intact, you were forced to walk forward alone. It was as if you had to shoulder a heavy burden, carrying it with every step, moving ahead while enduring its weight. And that very burden left within you a deep wound, not just a minor scratch, but a tremendous shock, a fracture that shattered your heart. The reason for this is that you were not given the time to arrange your emotions, not allowed the space to heal slowly, not granted the chance to calm yourself and release little by little. Everything came too quickly, too suddenly, forcing you to carry that pain forward as you walked. This was not a small hurt, but a profound suffering, because what you truly needed was time to sort things out, time to close the chapter, time to heal yourself. But circumstances did not allow for that. And so the pain grew even stronger, like a wound that had never been stitched, left to bleed endlessly within, compelling you to move ahead while still hurting, still grieving, still unable to release the love you had once given. Your person speaks very clearly through this. You were forced to continue onward by yourself, carrying with you all the unsaid feelings, the wounded emotions, the unhealed scars, and the unforgettable memories. You had to take all of these with you, embracing them fully in your heart, while still having to step forward, walking a path now left to you alone. It is a state unbearably heavy, for your heart was never permitted closure, never allowed the time to gently put away the past emotions, and yet life still swept you forward, compelling you to continue. Here, the oracle card, specifically the message from the romance angel, speaks of settlement, of resolution of the past. It shows very clearly that in one moment in the past, an event occurred that forced you to stop, forced you to end, forced you to arrange everything within a time far too rushed, with no preparation at all. Everything arrived suddenly, without warning, as if you were standing still and a storm swept through, tearing apart everything you once held before your very eyes. It was a pain, a loss, a wound that you were forced to accept, even though you yourself were entirely unready to receive it. In life, everyone must learn, many times over, how to arrange, how to close chapters, how to accept loss in order to continue walking forward. Yet in this story, what made it so unbearably painful was the speed, the suddenness with which it came. There was no time to prepare your heart, no chance to calmly look back, no pause for healing. Only the raw truth remained, that everything had changed, and you had to move on, even though you were not ready. Therefore, the spread shows that you have endured a wound too great, a pain not easily healed. It is the condition of having to move ahead, having to live on with what you never had the chance to set down, never had the chance to wrap up, never had the chance to release. And that truly is one of the hardest trials a human heart must face. At present, the energy of the cards is also pointing clearly to the fact that the relationship between the two of you is in a state of suspension. It is not an ending within the soul, not that either of you has truly let go or stopped loving, but rather a halt born of external reality, of circumstance. As though everything has been put on hold, frozen in stillness, caught in a pause. There is no forward step, no growth, no active connection. Perhaps the two of you are not speaking, not in contact, no longer interacting. Though love still lingers in the heart, in the tangible world the thread of connection has fallen into stasis, immobile, silent, unmoving. This is the very picture the cards are painting, a love not extinguished, yet blocked, forced into stillness, leaving behind wounds unhealed and sorrows unresolved. I sense that at this moment, you yourself have not yet been able to truly sort through your emotions. The feelings of the past, the experiences you shared with this person, you still carry them fully within you, unsoftened, unclosed. You hold them like a heavy burden you do not yet know how to put down. And on your person's side as well, they too once had to make a decision that went entirely against the will of their heart, a choice that diverged far from what they truly longed for. And so, even now, they remain torn, still aching, still thinking of you. Yet between the two of you, what is lacking is direct conversation, the open dialogue, the spoken confirmation of love. The two of you have not yet found a way to sit together and voice what truly lies within, what you truly feel, what you truly desire. And it is precisely this silence, this absence of words, that keeps the bond suspended, uncertain, unresolved, unable to find its release. Now let us move into the next part. What your person does not wish to change, what they want to hold on to no matter how turbulent things may become. The Three of Pentacles appears first. This is the card of collaboration, of building together, of creating something solid as a joint effort. It reveals that deep within, your person still longs to maintain that foundation of cooperation, to preserve the connection once created with you, and they do not want to see it crumble. Next comes the Page of Pentacles, a card carrying the energy of humble beginnings yet filled with hope, like a student ready to learn, a spirit willing to cultivate step by step, even from the smallest of efforts. Yet when I drew a clarifier for the Page of Pentacles, the Five of Swords emerged, the card of conflict, of defeat, of battles in which no one truly wins. This shows that within them there still lingers a fear, a haunting memory of arguments, of helplessness, of having once had to accept a decision that went against the heart's true desire. And yet, even so, they do not want to let that destroy everything. They wish to preserve the small green shoot of a new beginning, to hold on to a chance, however fragile, to rebuild with you from the start. When I drew a clarifier for the Hierophant, the Ten of Swords appeared. This is a heavy card, speaking of endings, of total collapse, of the sensation of being pierced so deeply one cannot rise again. It reveals that in the past, they endured the pain of surrender, the anguish of being powerless to hold on to what was most precious to them. But the Hierophant is the symbol of sacred connection, of marriage, of eternal commitment. And when these energies are combined, the message is undeniable. Even though there has been destruction, even though they have known the pain of reaching the very bottom, your person still does not wish to abandon the longing for a sacred union with you. A lasting commitment, a love blessed and recognized. This message is reinforced with even greater clarity by the oracle card that appeared, the card of wedding. This is the card of marriage, of an official and enduring bond, one nourished by true love. Its presence here confirms that what your person refuses to change, what they are determined to hold on to, is their dream of a lasting union with you. They do not want to lose the vision of a shared future. They do not want to abandon the desire to create a home, to build a foundation of love that is complete, enduring, and sanctified with you. In summary, even though at present there may still be struggles between the two of you, distances unbridged, and silences where communication is absent, within your person's heart there remains one thing that has never changed: the longing to be with you, to build with you, and to be bound to you in a lasting relationship, one that could even lead to marriage. First, the Three of Pentacles appears. This is a very significant card because it reveals what your person wishes to hold firm, what they do not want to let go of. The energy here says that, at the very least, they long for the relationship between you and them to be maintained, even if only on the level of teammates, companions on the same path, people working together toward a common goal. Perhaps between the two of you there once was a bond through work. Maybe you were in the same company, or perhaps you were once part of the same community, involved in projects or group activities together, or even something as simple as sharing joy in a game, in a hobby, in something that connected you as part of the same team. All of those shared experiences have left a mark, a connection they do not wish to lose. Your person holds a very clear desire. Even if the romantic relationship, the bond of love, may not be permitted, may not be accepted, they still want to remain connected to you in some form, at least as companions, as friends, as teammates. This is not about rejecting love, nor about reducing the bond to mere friendship. The message the cards reveal is this: if love is forbidden, if a romantic relationship cannot be allowed, then even if only the thinnest thread of connection remains, they still do not want to lose it. They still want to keep you in their life, to preserve some kind of tie, some kind of bond, anything, as long as the thread is not cut away. And deeper still within their heart, there lies an even stronger affirmation. They do not want to give up this relationship. They do not want to release you. To them, your presence is not merely a relationship, but a treasure, a profound value, an irreplaceable part of their life. You are the connection they cannot afford to lose. And so, they want to cling, to sustain, to hold fast, to ensure that this bond does not break. What the card whispers here is this: if that thread still exists, if the two of you can preserve the bond, even if only as companions walking side by side, then in time, as both of you cherish it and hold it with care, a day will come when the door of opportunity opens. A day when love is no longer forbidden. A day when the two of you can continue forward together in fullness. Your person believes with all their heart that as long as this connection is not severed, as long as the tie between you remains, then the chance for love to bloom again, for the relationship to grow deeper, will surely come. The energy of the card speaks unmistakably. They are sending you one message: they do not want to give up. They do not want to let go. They do not want an ending. They do not want this relationship between you to fall into a place of permanent closure. Within their heart, the desire still burns brightly, the desire to once more continue with you, to once more step forward alongside you. This is the one thing they cannot and will not change. They refuse to let the current reality, no matter how harsh, no matter that it bears the name of a forbidden love, a relationship condemned by outside eyes, become an unbreachable wall. Even if this love, this bond, is deemed unacceptable, they still wish to keep it, to sustain it, to hold a space for you in their life. And when the wedding card arises, it reinforces this message even more strongly. For them, the one thing that cannot be altered, the one thing they do not want and cannot abandon, is the connection with you. Whatever form it may take, What matters is that they do not want the thread between you to be cut. Perhaps, as the card reflects, in the present some of you find yourselves in situations where on the surface the connection has been forced into severance. No more contact, no more conversations, no more interactions. Outwardly, the relationship may appear to have stopped, to have been broken. But deep within your person's heart, this is not what they want. They do not want to relegate you to a memory of the past. They do not want to let you fade into a shadow of what once was. They still want that thread to continue. They still want to keep you in their present, and they still long to feel your presence alive within their life. What they are fervently trying to convey is this: I do not want to give up. Even if this relationship is judged as something forbidden, something that should not exist, they still hope that at the very least the two of you can remain connected in some form, even if only as companions, as teammates walking a shared path. Yet behind this compromise lies a far stronger longing. They truly wish to nurture this love again, to plant it once more, to tend to it again and allow it to grow, to mature, to flourish anew. In other words, they do not want to let you go. They do not want this bond to vanish. Even if on the outside it appears as though the connection has been cut, within their heart your person still holds firmly to their resolve that one day, if the opportunity presents itself, they will be with you again, building together once more, nurturing once more, bringing this love into bloom again. As long as they can remain connected to you, even if that connection is limited to the role of companions, teammates, unable to go beyond what circumstances allow, they still want to hold on to that thread. Because deep inside, they believe with conviction that if the bond is preserved, then one day the opportunity will return, a new door will open. And the thing they affirm most strongly is this: they do not want to let go. They do not want to lose you. They do not want to release this relationship. This is the one thing they will never change, the one thing they hold on to tightly and will not allow to slip away. Now, let us go deeper to see what emotions and thoughts your person is currently holding within themselves about this relationship between you. When I drew another oracle card, the energy showed with great clarity that the situation for many who chose this pile may now be in a suspended state. No contact, or contact so limited it feels almost non-existent. For some, it may be that there is no possible way to reach out at all, as though texting, calling, connecting has been forbidden, disallowed, or simply blocked by circumstance. For others, it may be that there is still a line of communication, but it is fragile, tenuous, hanging like a single thread, like a bridge held together by the thinnest strand of hair. Perhaps it is only you who reach out, while your person does not respond, or their replies are faint, scarce, half-hearted. This has left the relationship suspended in a liminal state, unclear, undefined, neither moving forward nor completely gone. In this reading, the appearance of the Nine of Swords alongside the Seven of Pentacles and, further, the Wheel of Fortune creates a deeply evocative and poignant combination. When I drew an additional card to clarify the Nine of Swords, the Six of Cups emerged, and together these cards weave a story heavy with emotion and filled with the lingering pull of memory. The Nine of Swords reveals the depth of their inner suffering, showing a heart weighed down by sorrow, anxiety, restless nights, relentless worries, and haunting obsessions. It speaks of sleepless hours, of being unable to stop the mind from circling back to your image over and over again, caught in a loop from which they cannot escape. The Seven of Pentacles reflects a state of waiting, of lingering in the in-between, neither moving forward nor stepping away, endlessly gazing at what has already been planted. It holds within it a mixture of hope and uncertainty, impatience and hesitation, a tension between wanting results and yet being unable to let go. And when the Six of Cups appears as clarification, the message becomes even clearer. They cannot forget you. Within their heart, the memory of you, of the time you shared, remains vivid and alive. The Six of Cups carries nostalgia, a longing for the past, tender recollections, and cherished, untainted moments that they find impossible to erase. This card confirms that the feelings are still present, that their heart still lingers with you, holding on with a profound attachment that refuses to fade. Finally, the Wheel of Fortune tells us that they are sensing the presence of destiny in all of this. They understand that the current moment may be one of pause, of distance, perhaps of separation, but deep within, there is a quiet conviction that the wheel is still turning. They believe that fate has not finished its work, that in some future moment, the turning of that wheel may bring you back into their life once again. Taken together, these cards paint a clear picture. This person has not been able to let go. They are burdened with pain and filled with inner struggle, yet at the same time, they are overwhelmed by longing and beautiful memories of you. They feel the bond between you still exists, unbroken and intact, and it is precisely that unshaken connection which keeps them from forgetting, from detaching, from abandoning the faith that someday, this relationship will once again have the chance to continue. The energy that emerges here is unmistakably clear. It is the lingering attachment, the overwhelming sense of longing, the inability to let go, the unfinished bond that still weighs so heavily on their heart. First and foremost, what appears here is a card that speaks directly of love, and not a fleeting, superficial affection, but a love that is genuine, profound, and heartfelt. This card affirms with certainty that the feelings they hold for you are not a game, not a passing amusement, not some brief spark of attraction that comes and goes. It is true love, serious and deeply rooted, a love that springs from the very core of their heart. It reveals that, even in this present moment, they continue to carry within themselves an authentic and sincere love, a bond that still bears great weight and meaning. In their mind, no matter how strained, broken, or impossible the relationship between the two of you may have become, they still see it as something real, as a connection of significance, as a relationship in which both of you once truly loved and devoted yourselves to one another. This truth becomes even more pronounced when the Nine of Swords appears together with the Six of Cups. Here, the message resonates strongly. They have not stopped thinking of you, not for a moment. The image of you has never faded from their heart. The yearning, the nostalgia, the flood of memories of the days when the two of you were happy together, when you shared closeness, when you held hands, when you confided and walked side by side, all of it remains intact, vivid and alive in their mind. These memories surface again and again, replaying endlessly, filling their heart with regret, with aching sorrow, and with the torment of loss. This is the strongest sign of their inability to let go of what can only be described as being bound by the remnants of a past love that still grips them. Even if, in the present, there is no communication between you, even if the silence has become complete, that silence does not mean they have forgotten you, nor that you no longer cross their mind. On the contrary, it only emphasizes how much more they think of you, thinking of you constantly, thinking of you every day, thinking of you in their empty moments. And it is precisely this unrelenting remembrance that leaves them heartbroken, sorrowful, and weary. This is not the shadow of forgetting. It is the weight of ceaseless memory, the ache of loving someone they can no longer be with, the unhealed wound of a heart that still yearns for the one it loves. When the Five of Cups appears, the energy grows even deeper and more poignant. It carries with it the sorrow of regret, the aching wish to turn back time, to return to those moments when the two of you were together, when happiness felt so close, so alive. Within their heart, questions echo constantly. How beautiful those days were. Why have they been lost now? Why are you no longer by their side? Why did they let that happiness slip away? They gaze back upon the past with unrelenting remorse, remembering all that was shared, and their heart circles endlessly around the yearning to return to that time, to hold on to the joy that once existed between you. All of these cards together form a vivid picture, one that reveals with striking clarity that this person still holds love for you, still feels deeply bound to this relationship, still aches with longing. They have never forgotten you, never stopped thinking of you, and they most certainly have never let go of this love. What rises within them now is a tide of nostalgia, of regret, of grief at your absence, yet also of a love that remains intact, genuine, and as profound as it was in the beginning. Once again, the energy of attachment surges strongly here. The cards show a soul caught in unending sorrow, a sense of loss so great that it feels as though their heart beats with the constant ache of having lost something irreplaceable. They still love you. The love is real, sincere, and serious. The two of you once loved each other deeply, and that love has not faded. And yet, within their heart resounds an unceasing cry. Why is it that despite such deep and honest love, the two of you cannot be together? Why must there be distance? Why must the paths divide instead of joining into one? These are the powerful emotions that overshadow and shape the way they view this relationship now. It is not merely the sense of yearning or the emptiness of your absence, but also the weight of remorse for everything the two of you built together. Every memory, every step along the way, every ounce of love you both cultivated, though in the present it may feel paused, frozen, no longer moving forward in reality, still lives on within them. They have never released it, never abandoned it. Outwardly, it may appear as though everything has halted, no actions taken, no progress made. But inwardly, in the depths of their heart, this relationship remains whole, alive, and sacred. something that has never departed from their soul and never ceased to dwell within them. They feel as though circumstances, pressures, or some external force have compelled them to pause, to retreat, to halt midway through the journey. Yet what is truly important here is that, even though they have been forced to stop, in their heart they continue to hold on to the thought that this is only a temporary interruption. Deep within, they have not reset, they have not erased or discarded everything that was shared. On the contrary, they are carefully preserving it all, guarding it as though it were a precious treasure, one that they intend to bring forth again when the moment is right, to continue building, to once more breathe life back into this love. The imagery of an external reset appears strongly. Outwardly, they may present themselves as though they have cut ties, as though they have cast it aside, as though they have ended everything. Yet in truth, within their heart, there has been no ending. For them, this is nothing more than a temporary pause, a silence enforced by circumstance. And still, they nurture the belief, they cultivate the determination that someday, when time and conditions align, they will return, they will begin once again, picking up right from where the two of you left off. Thus, all that is unfolding now should not be seen as a final chapter. It is not the end. It is only an interruption, a forced pause along the path. Within their heart burns a strong will, a clear desire. I want to continue. I want to rebuild with you once again. And that is why, even if you may feel that everything has stopped, that the doors have closed, the truth is that in their heart, the flame has never gone out. The love has never disappeared. The connection with you is still alive, still burning deeply within them. What appears here shows us unmistakably that they view this relationship as if it were a film that has merely been placed on pause. They see it only as paused, not ended, and in the depths of their being they hold firmly to the belief that one day, when the opportunity arises, when the timing comes, they will press play once more, and the story will resume exactly where the two of you left it. They believe nothing has been lost, nothing has vanished, everything remains intact, waiting patiently in this state of suspension, holding still until it is time to move forward again. Their message is clear. This relationship is something they regard as profoundly valuable, something they cannot bring themselves to let go of. To them, it is sacred, untouchable, and it is precisely because of that sacredness that they absolutely refuse to lose it. They also speak of destiny, and this reveals clearly that in their eyes, the bond between the two of you is not something random, not a mere coincidence, but a profound connection, a fated arrangement woven with meaning. When asked about the current state of this relationship, they affirm that it has not ended, it has not stopped. Even if outwardly it may appear as though everything has come to a halt, as though there is no longer any progress between the two of you, within their heart it has never ended. They hold firmly to the belief that the moment the right time arrives, the moment opportunity presents itself, they will immediately restart, pressing play to begin again exactly where things were left off. That is why they do not view this as an ending, but only as a pause along the journey of love. Deep within, they both want to believe and already do believe that this love has never stopped. They cling tightly to that belief as a way of keeping their spirit steady, of enduring the emptiness of the present. And yet, I also see clearly that the reason they cannot press the button to begin right now is not because they lack the will, not because they do not want to, but because there are external factors binding them. These influences are not born of their own desires, not of their personal choice, but of obligations, responsibilities, or roles that they are compelled to carry. There is something outside of them that forces this pause, that prevents them from freely choosing according to their heart's desire. What I sense unmistakably is that they are in no way surrendering. On the contrary, not once have they ever entertained the thought of giving up. In the depths of their being, the love they hold for you remains whole, untouched, and they are always quietly prepared that the moment the door opens, the moment the opportunity comes, they will not hesitate. They will press that button without fear, ready to continue this journey of love with you once more. This is the power of their persistence, the strength of the deep and enduring feelings they continue to hold for you, regardless of how many barriers, how many constraints the current circumstances may impose. I can sense very clearly that in order to shoulder fully the role and the responsibilities they are being forced to carry, this person has had to make an extremely difficult choice to temporarily cut off, or at the very least outwardly show that they have cut off the connection with you. They have created for others the impression that the two of you have parted ways, that they have turned their back on you. Yet the truth hidden deep inside is completely the opposite. In their heart, this relationship has never ended. It remains whole, alive, and weighty within their mind. And what is even more important is that they believe your feelings for them have not stopped either. They hold on to the faith that you are still keeping the flame, and it is precisely that faith which sustains them through this present stage of their life. Now, I want to move into the central part, the shift in this person's emotions that has been unfolding recently. Let us first look at the message from the Oracle deck. The very first card that appeared was passion. Such a powerful surge of energy. And then in the tarot spread, 3 remarkable cards emerged: the Knight of Swords, the Empress, and, most striking of all, the Star. Each of these is a card imbued with immense force, carrying energies of determination, of guiding light, and of nurturing abundance. Following that, when clarifying the Knight of Swords, the card that came forth was the Hanged Man altogether. They weave a message that is rich, layered, and unmistakably clear. As these cards lay before me, what I feel instantly is the energy of resolve, a sense of inner determination, of summoning all courage from within. The Passion card reveals that, although they are still bound by external influences, still burdened with roles or responsibilities not of their own choosing, they are beginning to accept this reality as part of life. They know they cannot yet be free in this moment. Yet alongside that acceptance, there is something rising powerfully within them, a surge of passion, a blazing flame of feeling for you that refuses to be suppressed. It is intense, it is undeniable, and it is filling their heart with both longing and the courage to hold on to this love. Within them, the love they hold for you is once again blazing, not dimmed, not extinguished in the slightest. I see clearly that recently, that very flame has been reignited, urging them to search for a way to change things, to find a way to once more move toward you. The cards laid before me, such as the Knight of Swords, reveal this surge of urgency, a fiery desire to break free of stagnation, a restless drive to act. Yet alongside it appears the Hanged Man, reminding us that they are still caught in a pause, still forced to wait, still compelled to endure sacrifice for a time. This creates a paradox. On one side, a longing to charge forward, and on the other, chains of circumstance that hold them bound, unable yet to move freely. The Empress appears to affirm that you are their source of nourishment, the place where they find love, warmth, and safety. You are like the fertile ground they always long to return to, the space that embodies tenderness and yet immense strength. And then comes the Star, shining as a beacon of hope, a symbol of unwavering faith that this relationship will one day find its chance to be renewed. It is the unmistakable sign that, in their heart, you are the light guiding their way, the enduring faith that keeps them from ever giving up. Altogether, what rises so vividly here is the truth that, even if they must pause, even if they must accept sacrifice in the present, the love they carry has never gone out. On the contrary, it is growing stronger, rising with greater force, compelling them to seek a way to once again come toward you. What I feel here is an overwhelmingly powerful message. This person seems to be moving out of the state they once forced themselves into, a state of passive endurance, of resignation, of trying to accept external circumstances as unchangeable. That acceptance, once tolerable, has now begun to suffocate them, pressing down so heavily that they can no longer bear it. They are realizing that if they continue only to endure, only to remain silent and compliant without action, without summoning their own inner energy and strength to transform the situation, then the most precious thing in their life, you, and this relationship, may slip through their hands and be lost forever. The very source of energy now rising within them is the yearning to revive this love, the longing to once again nurture and rebuild the bond between the two of you. What they wish to emphasize most clearly is that their inner drive has now shifted entirely toward pressing play, toward restarting, rather than continuing to passively endure the weight of external circumstances. If in the past they tried to remain resigned, forcing themselves to bow their head and accept what was imposed upon them, now the fire within has grown far stronger. Alongside that fire, however, there is also fear. They sense that if they go on as before, if they only accept and do nothing, then the opportunity to reconnect with you may slip away forever. And it is precisely this fear that has ignited in them a restlessness, a powerful inner urging that tells them they must act, they must live in alignment with the true feelings of their heart. They share that in the time before, when all they did was submit, endure, and quietly accept, their spirit felt drained, as if their very life force was ebbing away, as though their body had grown hollow, deprived of vitality, gradually losing joy and brightness. Yet now, they are beginning to feel unmistakably the return of a new energy, a current of passion flowing back into them, surging through their being and urging them forward. This is the life force reawakened, brought back to life by none other than the love they hold for you and the fervent desire that still burns so strongly within their heart. And when I draw a clarifying card for the Knight of Swords, it is the Hanged Man, which makes the message even clearer. This person has been in that suspended state for far too long, a state of passive acceptance, of being bound, of enduring circumstances without moving forward. But now, the presence of this card does not indicate that they will remain hanging any longer. Instead, it affirms the ending of that phase. It reveals a moment of transformation, a choice rising from deep within. This person seems ready to take the blade in their own hands and sever the rope that has kept them bound. They no longer wish to stay in a position of helplessness, leaving everything to fate. They long to be proactive, to liberate themselves with their own willpower, to step out of stagnation. This means they are standing at the threshold of a profound change, the conclusion of a time when they accepted restraint, and the beginning of a new stage in which they intend to claim authority over their own destiny, to take control of the direction of this relationship. In other words, the Hanged Man has reached its end for them, and it is they themselves who will choose to bring that suspension to a close through their own determination, through the power of their inner resolve. The card is speaking very clearly. This person is telling themselves, and also wants to let you know, that they will be the one to cut the rope binding them, by their own will. No longer will they allow circumstances to keep them suspended, immobile. Instead, they want to act decisively, to free themselves so that they can move forward, so that they can take action. And when the Empress and the Star appear alongside, these cards carry an incredibly powerful energy. They show that this person truly holds you close within their heart, constantly cherishing you, always thinking of you with the deepest respect, and above all, nurturing within them a radiant hope, a certainty that together with you, they can once again press the button of rebirth for this connection, so that both of you may grasp a shining, beautiful, and joyful future. In their heart, you are not just a memory or a shadow. You are a source of light, an unextinguished faith, a flame that they will never allow to go out. What the cards are showing here is the profound transformation within this person's consciousness. In the past, or to be more precise, not so long ago, they still held on to hope in a distant way, in the form of someday, one day. I wish it could be like that, as if their faith was always suspended in a far-off tomorrow. But now, everything has shifted. They no longer want to linger in vague hopes. They no longer want to live in the endless waiting of one day. Instead, they want to honor their true feelings, to honor the depth of their longing, and to turn that hope into reality here and now. They want to seize it with both hands, to witness it unfold in the tangible world rather than letting it remain confined to imagination. This person no longer wants everything to remain a fleeting illusion, a sweet dream that drifts away with time. They do not want their love for you to exist only in vague visions or to keep repeating scenarios in their mind followed by sighs of if only. For them, the one thing that endures now is faith, an absolute hope in this relationship. And because they have reached the point where only hope remains, they know it is time to transform that hope into action, to claim it in reality. In other words, this is no longer the season for dreaming or waiting. It is the season for affirming, for advancing, for pulling this love into the realm of the living. They had once spent many moments waiting for deliverance from the outside, waiting for the moment of freedom, and during that waiting, they could only live through dreams, through imagined futures where they might press the reset button with you. But now, even they are telling themselves, the time for dreaming has ended. Now is the moment to turn those dreams into truth, to take those visions and weave them into a tangible life. They want to bring this into existence. They want to hold you and this relationship firmly with all their strength, with all their faith, with all their yearning. The final message carried by the energy of the spread is this: they no longer want to merely cradle these feelings in their heart or imagine a faraway day. They want to build, to nurture, to step by step cultivate this bond with you. They long for the two of you to plant seeds together, to tend to them together, so that love may sprout, blossom, and grow strong in reality. No longer just a dream, but a true shared journey, a living, breathing path of two souls walking hand in hand. In truth, what this person is trying to say is that they want to take action with their own hands. They want to truly step forward, to begin, to move out of the shadows and bring change into reality. That is why the state of suspension, the immobility, the bound condition of being the hanged man, they will sever it themselves. They will use the strength of their own will to put an end to that long waiting, that passive endurance. And this shows that recently, from deep within them, a powerful, surging energy has been awakened. This energy no longer allows them to remain in a state of resignation, of merely enduring circumstances. Instead, it pushes them outward. It compels them to break free, to bring closure to a frozen chapter, and to step into the realm of movement and action. The reading emphasizes that the period of standing still has reached its conclusion. This person is now ready for transformation. They will show you clear, tangible steps. They will act to change the relationship that has been stagnant, that has been stuck between the two of you. The message being delivered here is unmistakable. This person is about to initiate new movements toward you. That concludes the reading for those who chose pile 2. Thank you for listening and for taking the time to connect with the messages in the spread. If something within these cards stirred your heart, resonated with your feelings, or brought even a small sense of recognition, I would be grateful if you left a little symbol or a few words of sharing so that I know these messages have found their rightful place. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel as a way of supporting me. Your support is a precious gift, a powerful source of encouragement that inspires me to continue bringing forward even more meaningful readings. I look forward to meeting you again in the next reading. Hello to those of you who have chosen pile 3. Thank you for your patience, and now I will begin the reading for everyone drawn to this third pile. May this spread bring you healing, new insights, and moments filled with love and tenderness. With the theme of the transformations and emotions that have been unfolding within this person recently, I want to first enter into the current overall energy that exists between the two of you. The very first message that appears reveals that there is an invisible distance between you. It is as though there are truths and genuine feelings that have not yet been fully spoken. Both you and this person, or at least one of you, are concealing your true emotions behind a mask. It is like the two of you are present in the same scene, connected, sharing the same space, yet lacking complete openness. There is the sense that something remains hidden, that a truth lies unspoken, a reality that has not yet been brought into words. Here, the cards indicate the presence of a third element, a third person perhaps, or it could just as well be an external factor, a fear, a wall, that is contributing to this concealment. And so, when I draw a clarifying card from the tarot, what immediately comes forth is the Seven of Swords. This card speaks with striking clarity about something being kept secret, hidden away, withheld, not shown in its entirety. It reaffirms the very sense I had just described. Your person is concealing something, not expressing their heart fully, not allowing you to see the whole truth that lies beneath the surface of their emotions. This, in turn, makes me feel their presence within this reading with even greater intensity. Their energy is strong, so strong that it feels as though they are trying to steer the message itself. It is as if they are whispering through the spread. Do not rush to interpret this in your own way. Let me speak. Let me take control. Because of this, the sensation I receive when opening these cards no longer feels like mere intuition, but almost like a direct link to their energy. There is determination, a forceful desire to hold back, to resist having everything laid bare. It is the voice of someone who wants to remain in control, someone who insists on deciding what will and will not be revealed. This brings forth an important message for you. Right now, between the two of you, there exists a veil, a mask, a layer beneath which truth and genuine emotions are being hidden. And that is the very core of the energy surrounding this relationship at this moment. With the presence of the Seven of Swords, the energy speaks loudly and unmistakably of something between you that cannot be brought into the light, matters that must remain concealed, truths that cannot be shared, connections that cannot be shown openly to the outside world. This could point to a relationship that must be kept in secrecy, a bond that is not allowed to be made public, or a love that both of you feel would invite complications, perhaps even pain, if it were exposed. The sense of this must not be revealed. This cannot be laid bare saturates the atmosphere of this card. Yet what I am receiving from the very energy of your person is more than the simple fact of secrecy. They are not merely saying this is a relationship that must remain hidden. On a deeper level, they are urging me to convey to you that the act of concealing, of repressing their true emotions, is something profoundly painful for them. Your person does not want to keep their authentic feelings locked away forever. They are not simply stating, this is a secret connection, and leaving it at that. Instead, they want you to understand that being unable to speak the truth, being denied the chance to be transparent and straightforward with you, is exactly what makes them feel suffocated, burdened, and tormented. The anguish here does not come only from the situation itself, but also from the relentless self-restraint they are forced into living behind a mask, silencing their own heart, unable to reveal the depth of what they truly feel. They want you to know that they are exhausted. They are weary from carrying the heaviness of not being permitted to openly voice their feelings, not being allowed to show the outside world the truth of their heart. This is what weighs down their spirit, what presses upon their chest with such intensity. And the energy they have poured into this reading comes across as a plea, a desperate cry. Let it be spoken that this is not only a hidden relationship, but also a source of torment, of suffering born from the necessity of repressing the truth. And then, as I continued to draw further clarifiers, the tower revealed itself immediately. The energy here is overwhelming, explosive. Through this card, your person whispers, "We must remain hidden, because if the truth is exposed, everything will collapse." There is a tremendous fear within them, a fear that if light shines upon this connection, everything they have been trying to protect, all that has been delicately nurtured, will shatter into ruins. They are terrified that the revelation of truth will detonate everything, and this is precisely why they choose silence, why they choose concealment. They do not want to see everything fall apart. And then the next card appears, the Knight of Swords. Here the energy speaks loudly of urgency, of a sudden surge forward, of the burning desire to rush ahead, to break free, to speak out, to take decisive action. It directly opposes the fear of the tower's collapse. This shows us clearly that within your person, two parallel forces are at war. On one side, the terror of destruction, the fear of losing everything if the truth comes out. On the other side, a driving force compelling them to charge toward you, to summon all their strength and clarity to cut through the chains of secrecy and move into the light. The energy is tense, volatile, fear and longing coexisting, the will to protect clashing with the impulse to break free. Between these extremes, your person is caught in turmoil, worn down by the conflict. And what they are sending into this reading is not only the pain and suffering of their situation, but also the flame of their struggle, showing you that they desire far more, that they want to emerge from the shadows of secrecy. What rises most strongly here is the suffocating weight of concealment, the unbearable strain of having to cover everything up. Your person is expressing that although hiding their truth makes their soul feel trapped, suffocated, and in pain, they still do it because if they don't, everything could collapse. If this connection is exposed to the light, it could be destroyed, and that is something they absolutely cannot accept. So, the endurance, the torment, the exhaustion, it all continues, because deep within their heart lies a fierce resolve. I do not want everything to fall apart. Even if it hurts, even if it means enduring this suffocating state, they are willing to do so. Because to them, not losing this bond is worth the struggle. They would rather bear the pain, grit their teeth, and keep carrying the weight of secrecy, than risk the devastation of losing what they have with you. This is the state they find themselves in now. A relationship sustained through repression, through silence, through being hidden from the world, yet held in place by an unyielding will, a will that refuses to let go of what is most precious to them. Now, I will go a little deeper into the past to see what the state of your connection once was. When I opened the cards, the very first that appeared was the Queen of Wands. This is a radiant, powerful, and passionate energy. It shows that in the past, there was someone who held the central role, someone who radiated a magnetic presence, bringing warmth, inspiration, and the fire of passion into this relationship. And right after that, the sun appeared, a wonderful sign, a symbol of joy, of freedom, of vitality. The connection in the past truly had moments that were beautiful, filled with light, brimming with happiness and enthusiasm. This was a phase when the two of you might have felt that everything was bright, every bond was full of life, and your love seemed to be illuminated by sunlight, clear, pure, and authentic. Then the next card was Temperance. This is the energy of balance, of harmony, of two differing forces finding a way to blend together. It shows that there was once a time when the two of you knew how to temper each other, how to balance differences in order to maintain stability and peace in the relationship. Even if there were contrasts or limitations, in some way, you both found a common rhythm, knew how to merge into one another, creating harmony where it could have easily been broken. And when I drew another card to clarify the energy of Temperance, the Queen of Cups appeared immediately. This is a gentle energy, overflowing with compassion, love, and emotional depth. It tells me that in the past, there was a love here that was very sincere, very nurturing, filled with tenderness and care. One of you, or perhaps both, invested a great deal of genuine emotion into this bond, loving with a heart that was honest, generous, and profoundly empathetic. When I continued to ask for further guidance through the Oracle deck, the card that emerged was Retreat, a symbol of withdrawal, of stepping away from the outside world so that the two of you could be alone together. This reveals that in the past, you may have shared moments where it felt like the world outside disappeared, when the two of you withdrew into your own sacred space, living in moments that belonged solely to you. It was a time when peace was found in each other's presence, when the noise and complexity of the world could be set aside, and only the sanctuary of your togetherness mattered. Looking at the entire spread, I can clearly see that in the past, between the two of you, there was a phase that was truly beautiful, truly sweet. There was passion, there was joy, there was light, harmony, and a deep sincerity of emotion. Yet at the same time, there were also limits, barriers, restrictions, an absence of complete freedom surrounding the connection. And now, when I look into the present, I see that those very limitations continue to persist. This is why your person feels the need to keep things hidden, to suppress, to restrain themselves, so that the relationship does not fall apart, even though inside they are caught in turmoil, struggling with pain and conflict. Yes, that is exactly it. Even though in the past there were obstacles, restrictions, and barriers that stood in the way, I feel very strongly that back then, neither of you paid too much attention or gave too much weight to those limits. The two of you still chose to walk the path you both desired, still chose to allow the relationship to unfold, to be nurtured in the most natural way, guided by the calling of your hearts. Even if there were external factors demanding secrecy, requiring limitation, in the past you both did not allow those things to weigh you down too heavily. Instead, you continued to move forward. You continued to step onto the path you both wanted to walk together. Here, once again, the cards Temperance and the Queen of Cups appear. They affirm that despite the existence of restrictions, the two of you knew how to accept them, how to harmonize and balance everything. Temperance speaks of moderation, of integration, of finding the middle ground within the relationship, even when there were bindings or limits in place. And the Queen of Cups shows tenderness, sincerity, a heart filled with compassion, with care, with unconditional love. This means that even in the presence of boundaries, the two of you managed to find stability. You managed to sustain a connection rich with emotion and love. That past was a time when balance and gentle affection carried you both through the obstacles, allowing love to flow even in the midst of restrictions. And what is even more significant here is the message carried by the card retreat, a reminder that there came a moment when the two of you had to step outside of that private world of your own. It means that although within that small circle, the two of you once shared a very beautiful space, a world that belonged only to the two of you, there inevitably came a time when you could no longer remain in that enclosed sanctuary. The universe seemed to be showing that there would come a point when you had to face the reality outside, when you were compelled to leave that private circle behind. In the world you created together, there were limitations, yes, there were bindings, restrictions that prevented the relationship from being entirely free. But what was truly precious is that within those limitations, the two of you still lived truthfully with each other, without hiding your feelings, without denying the depth of the emotions you held for one another. Even though the connection was framed by constraints, even though certain conditions kept it confined, you still chose to walk hand in hand, allowing the relationship to be nourished by genuine affection. And it was precisely that choice that gave birth to a past that was beautiful, a foundation rich with meaning along the journey of the two of you. I can feel that at that time, the two of you did not focus too heavily on the restrictions surrounding you. You simply moved forward. You simply built your love in your own way. Yet, all of this mostly existed only within that private world the two of you shared. From the outside looking in, from the perspective of others, those very limitations seemed to matter far more. They became conditions that demanded attention, issues that could not be ignored. In other words, while the two of you, within your own circle, enjoyed the freedom and comfort that the relationship provided, the reality outside was already reminding you that you could not stay in that space forever. Events unfolded that forced the two of you to step out, that required you to leave the sanctuary of your private world behind. I can see clearly that in the past, within that world you both created, you were truly happy, truly free. It was a state of rare beauty, a feeling so uncommon that not everyone is fortunate enough to experience. It was the sense that there was no one else in the world but the other, that to meet, to share, to be understood, and to harmonize so deeply as if you were soulmates was something miraculous, something precious and extraordinary. Yet, from that private, blissful world, the present has brought forth a situation in which secrecy, concealment, and restraint have become necessary. It is not because the two of you wish to deceive, nor because you wanted to hide your love, but simply because without secrecy, this relationship could hardly survive. In the past, That love was free, open, and unguarded, but now the reality is different. If the connection is to continue, you are forced to face circumstances that no longer allow you to live as comfortably and openly as before. This brings with it a sadness, for it reveals a stark contrast. Once, the love was pure and radiant like its own world of happiness, yet now it must be held tightly, concealed in order to be preserved. I can feel that, indeed, in the past the relationship was breathtakingly beautiful, but at the same time, there is the possibility that you were both so immersed in that private sanctuary that you lost awareness of what was unfolding around you. Perhaps there were moments when the two of you were so consumed by your love that you forgot the outside world still existed, that this relationship was never just about the two of you alone, but was always influenced by other forces and circumstances. And as I see it, this is why, when you stepped out of that intimate world of two, you were confronted with a reality far more complex. Inside that circle, everything was beautiful, everything was perfect. But when the relationship had to be placed into the broader context of life itself, maintaining it became immensely challenging. In other words, the love you both shared within that private sanctuary was once whole and complete, but when viewed against the wider backdrop, it proved far more difficult to sustain in the same way. This is the message the cards are whispering to me, that you once had a sweet past, a love that seemed unparalleled, but at the same time, this world does not consist only of the two of you. And that very truth has made the journey of continuing together far less simple than it once appeared. I see very clearly here that the cards are saying it has come to the point where the two of you are being compelled to step outside, to leave behind the world that once contained only the two of you. This is a message that is being repeated again and again. You can no longer remain forever in that enclosed space, that warm, free sanctuary you once had. The universe is speaking. The time has come to face the broader reality. And now let us listen further to see what it is that your person, the one on your mind, absolutely does not want to change. The first card that appears is the Queen of Swords, followed by the Ace of Wands, and then the Ten of Cups. I pulled an additional card to clarify the Queen of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles appeared. Then I drew yet another card, and it was the Four of Wands. When moving into the Oracle deck, the card Soulmate appeared, a card of immense weight, one that seems to declare that this soul connection is real and undeniable. So, what is it that your person does not want to change? The message here is quite clear. They are in a position, in circumstances, where they must carry a great deal of responsibility. The Queen of Swords shows us someone sharp, clear-minded, rational, and at times harsh with themselves. This person is forced to make difficult decisions, decisions that can seem cold, that do not allow them to indulge in softness or weakness. They must remain steadfast. They must be precise. They cannot afford to let their emotions dictate everything. Alongside this, the Knight of Pentacles appears to emphasize the point. This is someone who has walked steadily, slowly but surely, someone who has poured in consistent effort to build what they now have. This could be their career, their reputation, their honor, or the tangible achievements that have been constructed brick by brick over a long journey. All of this has become both a weight upon their shoulders and a source of pride within their heart, and these are things they do not want to give up. The Ace of Wands here shows that they still carry within them a flame of desire, a passion that burns and pushes them forward. The Ten of Cups reveals that at the core of their heart, they still yearn for happiness, for fulfillment, for the vision of emotional completion, family, and shared joy. And with the Four of Wands present, it is clear that what they long to hold on to is stability, a sense of home, celebration, and the bonds that feel like belonging. And then, the Oracle card Soulmate arrives as if to seal the truth, no matter the burdens they carry, no matter the decisions they are forced to make with clarity and rationality, no matter how disciplined they must be with themselves, at the center of it all. They cannot deny this soul connection. This bond feels undeniable, irreplaceable. It is the one thing that, regardless of circumstances, regardless of responsibilities or pressures, they absolutely do not want to let go of. The Ten of Cups here opens up a vision of completeness and fulfillment, a longing for family, for happiness, for a home that feels whole and abundant. Deep within their heart, this person truly yearns for a love that is complete, for a relationship that leads to lasting happiness. And the Ace of Wands shows the flame of passion, the driving force of life, the eruption of faith in a new beginning. They do not want to lose that faith. They do not want the fire within their heart to be extinguished. Then comes the Four of Wands, the card of union, of ceremony, of joyous commitment, which strengthens even further the truth that what they hold tightly in their heart is the desire for a solid foundation, for a clear acknowledgement of this love. Yet, I can also see the inner struggle. The Queen of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles appearing together reveal how deeply aware they are of their responsibilities, their position, and all that they have built in the eyes of society. They cannot simply cast it all aside. This may include the differences that stand between you, differences in circumstances, in social status, or in roles within life. Because of this, they remind themselves again and again to be strict, to stay in control, to not allow their emotions to spill beyond what seems reasonable. And yet, their heart is aflame with desire for completeness, for the chance to live wholly for love, for a bond that is deep and enduring. The appearance of the Soulmate card here is like a powerful affirmation. No matter how much their mind cautions them, the love they feel for you carries the weight and truth of a soul connection, something undeniable and unshakable. And this is precisely what they do not want to change, the truth that you are part of their heart, the truth of this bond that they continue to safeguard, no matter the circumstances, no matter what surrounds them. In summary, what this person does not want to change is the flame within them, the yearning to love and to live fully within love, the foundation they have built steadily and persistently over time, the discipline they impose on themselves to protect what is important, and above all, the soul connection with you, a bond they believe is destined, a soulmate tie that cannot be denied. There may indeed be some of you who find yourselves in such a situation. What I feel very strongly is that your person is carrying a tremendous weight upon their shoulders, many responsibilities, many burdens that they are forced to accept, while you do not seem to carry the same weight, or at the very least, you are not as heavily entangled as they are. This difference, this disparity in circumstances and positions between the two of you, emerges here with striking clarity. And yet, despite the need to continue bearing those roles, those duties, despite the external pressures pressing down on them, they hold within their heart a desire they refuse to relinquish, the wish to begin a new life with you, to open a new chapter on this journey, and above all, to build together with you a future of happiness, a home that is whole and complete. They are speaking very clearly here, declaring that no matter how great their responsibilities may be, they do not want to lose this precious thing. They do not want to give up being with you. Nor do they want to abandon the faith in a future where the two of you can share happiness, where both hearts can be filled and fulfilled. Even though from the practical perspective of the present moment, this may not be something that can be realized immediately, they remain steadfast in their choice to move in that direction. They never want to let go, never want to stop, never want to turn away from it. That is precisely what they do not want to change. And for this reason, they choose to continue on even if it means keeping the relationship hidden, even if it means holding their emotions locked within. This act of concealment, this suppression of what they truly feel, brings them great sorrow, immense fatigue, and deep pain. And yet, they refuse to surrender, they refuse to abandon, they refuse to let the bond collapse. Because for them, as long as there is even a flicker of hope, they will stand firm, they will choose again and again to protect this connection. The reality they live in now and the message of the cards align seamlessly. They are in a situation, in a position that demands they shoulder many responsibilities, but deep within, they absolutely do not want to abandon the vision of a shared future with you. And here, the Soulmate card has appeared, a powerful affirmation that to them, this relationship is not ordinary. It is not something that can be replaced. It is a rare, sacred bond, a unique connection. They feel that the two of you are like two pieces of a puzzle that complete each other. They cannot imagine life without you, cannot envision enduring long, endless days without your presence by their side. You are an irreplaceable part of their life, a presence far too important for them to ever let go of. And that is something they absolutely do not want to change. No matter how difficult the present may be, no matter how much weariness surrounds them, even in moments when they feel utterly drained, this person does not want to release their hold, does not want to lose this connection. They want to cling tightly, to hold this bond with all their strength, because deep within, they believe it is destiny. It is a soulmate tie, the one and only force that allows them to keep moving forward on this journey. What I sense here is that this person is very likely in a situation where they cannot change their position or current circumstances. They appear bound, restrained by the roles and duties they are compelled to bear, obligations they must continue to uphold. If, in some imagined reality, They could alter that position. If they could lay down those burdens, then everything between you would feel so much lighter. The two of you could move toward a future of ease, of freedom, without limits or obstacles. And yet, the reality is that they cannot, or at least not yet. They must still continue to shoulder those responsibilities, to maintain their presence in the role they currently inhabit. There are far too many things that cannot be changed, and this is what forces them to admit that, as much as they may wish otherwise, they are bound by circumstance. And yet, alongside that truth, the message they want to send to you comes through with extraordinary force. They do not want to break this bond. They do not want to lose it. They do not want to abandon it or bring it to a halt. No matter how heavy, no matter how difficult, no matter how vast the responsibilities they must endure, they still wish to go on. Because from the deepest part of their soul, the one thing they truly, absolutely do not want to change is the connection between you and them. When looking into the current situation between you and this person, I drew additional cards to clarify their thoughts and emotions. The cards that appeared were the Five of Wands, the Two of Cups, the Magician, and most notably, Judgment as a supplementary card, a card carrying immense power, decisive energy, and illumination. The first striking image is the Five of Wands. Here, it shows that this person is heavily influenced by the eyes and opinions of those around them. There is competition, pressure, and even conflict, as if they are living in an environment where every move is watched, every choice judged. That sense of being under scrutiny makes them unable to express themselves freely, unable to fully live their emotions when they are with you. Yet, alongside that inner struggle, the Two of Cups emerges like a clear affirmation. It says that despite those external obstacles, the connection between you and them is genuine. It is mutual affection, a resonance of souls. The Two of Cups here shows that they see you as a soulmate, someone they deeply long to bond with, to share with, to merge and unite with. Then comes the Magician, symbolizing creative potential and the ability to actively shape the future. In this context, I see that they are still holding a strong inner belief that this relationship can be reborn, can be transformed in some way to reach fulfillment. And when Judgment appears as an additional card, the energy of awakening shines even brighter. This card speaks of realization, of a fated turning point. Deep down, they are yearning for, or already sensing, that between you two, there will be a significant transformation, a rebirth that can release you both from present constraints. So, when connecting these cards together, what clearly stands out is that they feel the relationship between you and them is not yet able to be lived out in full freedom or wholeness at present. It is not because being with you is not joyful or fulfilling. On the contrary, they want to emphasize that they crave those complete moments of togetherness with you. But precisely because there are limitations, because there is not yet permission or recognition from the outside, they cannot openly show their happiness. They cannot freely pour themselves wholeheartedly into this relationship. This connection, therefore, becomes something both sweet and burdened with longing. It is a love that runs deep, yet remains bound and restricted. They are acutely aware of this. They feel it clearly, and they carry within themselves this daily struggle and inner conflict. Yet at the same time, they cling tightly to the belief that there will come a destined moment, a chance for renewal, a point of rebirth where both of you can break free from all constraints and finally live this love in its fullness. What they are showing here is the sense that some form of permission, some form of recognition must first be obtained in order for them to be able to openly and comfortably live out joy with you. They sense that within this relationship lies a taboo, an invisible boundary that prevents both of you from standing in the open and wholeheartedly embracing happiness together. As much as they wish to, they realize that for now, what exists between you is a bond filled with restrictions, a connection where being with one another in a pure, carefree, joyful way feels like something that is simply not allowed. The presence of the Five of Wands emphasizes this even further. Here, it makes clear that they are forced to pay constant attention to the eyes of those around them, to judgment, to scrutiny. This relationship is shrouded in external pressures, which means they do not only carry their private emotions for you, but also bear the heavy weight of the surrounding environment. They must always observe, always be cautious, unable to live freely as they truly desire. And yet, alongside all of that, the spread also reveals a card of mutual empathy and shared resonance, a card that so clearly shows that these two souls beat as one. The image of two flowers blooming together within a single heart underscores the meaning that both of you experience this bond as if it were one shared soul. Here, even the Soulmate card itself has appeared, making it unmistakably clear that for this person, this relationship is not a fleeting attraction, not something superficial, but a profound recognition that the two of you are one, complementary halves, an indivisible unity. They see you as an essential part of themselves, a bond that transcends the boundaries of reason, a harmony of spirit they cannot deny. Therefore, for them, the issue is not simply that they do not want to let go. In truth, much deeper than that, within their very soul, they cannot imagine a life without you. The thought of being apart from you, of living a life in which your presence is absent, is something utterly unimaginable to them. This relationship is not merely a matter of desire or longing. It is an essential part of their very being, a vital thread interwoven into the fabric of their life. Continuing further, the Magician and Judgment once again appear as powerful supplementary messages. Here, they affirm that for this person, they are always ready to begin again, to start over, to rebuild everything from the ground up whenever necessary. No matter how complicated, no matter how difficult the situation may become, they continue to affirm with unwavering certainty, I will do it again. I will begin again. I will be reborn once more. The energy of Judgment resounds like a vow, declaring that no matter how many times things may shatter, no matter how many time cycles repeat, they will still choose you. They will still choose this relationship. And the message goes even deeper still. Even if they had to be reborn countless times, even if they had to live through endless lifetimes, they would still decide to choose you. Some may interpret such a statement to mean that perhaps they are implying that in this lifetime, the two of you cannot be together, and so they must carry that hope over into another life. But here, the energy does not flow in that direction. It is not an act of resignation, not a surrender to some other lifetime. It is a powerful declaration of perseverance. It is a vow that no matter how difficult the present may be, no matter the obstacles or hardships, even if this relationship were to be pushed into the most challenging of circumstances, this person would still rise, would still begin anew, and would still choose to stand by your side. This bond, therefore, is not simply love. It carries the weight of destiny, the gravity of a timeless vow. It reveals that they have come to recognize you as their twin soul, their missing piece, the part of themselves that, no matter how many trials they face, they cannot release, cannot lose, and cannot for even a moment imagine living without. What I sense here is that this person is powerfully affirming, I will begin again as many times as it takes. I will start over no matter how often it is required. They carry within them an immense reservoir of energy, a will so strong that it drives them to continue this relationship with you regardless of circumstances, regardless of difficulties. When they speak in this way, it is not merely a promise, not just words of reassurance. It is a declaration of vitality, of conviction, of unwavering faith in the bond that ties them to you. What they are showing is that, when it comes to envisioning a future with you, the very concept of an ending does not even exist in their mind. This person does not simply think, I don't want things to end, because such a thought would feel far too small, too insufficient compared to what they truly feel. Here, what they are conveying is something closer to an absolute truth. They do not even conceive of an ending. Within their consciousness, deep within their subconscious, the idea that this relationship could reach its conclusion is simply not part of any scenario. And if, by some external force, circumstances were ever to push the two of you apart, if something outside were to attempt to close the door on this bond, then immediately, with all their strength, with every ounce of determination, they would begin again from the very beginning. No matter how many obstacles, no matter how many times they might stumble or fall, they state with complete clarity, I will rise again, I will rebuild, I will reconnect this thread with you. The energy here is so resolute, so unyielding, that even the very notion of separation or finality seems not to exist for them. Within the story that unfolds between you and this person, there is no room for an ending. They believe that once the bond has been formed, once fate has brought you together, once you have become part of each other's lives, then no matter what happens, the two of you cannot be divided. This is a kind of connection that, once woven, can never be unraveled, can never be broken, no matter how hard anyone might try. It is a bond that resists all attempts at dissolution, a tether that holds beyond effort, beyond resistance, binding you together in a way that is inescapable and eternal. I sense that this does not only come from their side, but that you two have, in some way, already recognized it. Both of you feel it. Both of you know deep within that this connection defies ordinary explanation, that it resembles a bond woven by destiny itself. They are showing you this truth clearly. They want you to understand. I cannot end things with you, and even if something were to shatter, I would rebuild from the very beginning. I would find every way possible to continue. The cards also bring forth another emphatic message. No matter what, by whatever means necessary, they will begin again. Even if something collapses, even if hardships arise, they will return, they will restore, they will reconnect this relationship. This is not blind stubbornness, but rather the strength born from an unshakable belief that this love cannot be destroyed, cannot be buried, and cannot be replaced. And now, with this energy illuminated, we move deeper into the core, listening to what recent shifts, what inner changes in their emotions have been taking place. The first card to appear is the Empress. Following that is the Page of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles. Supplementary cards are the Knight of Cups and Death. Looking into this spread, what stands out most clearly is the energy of redirection, of reorientation. But this shift does not mean they have abandoned the relationship with you, nor that they have decided to give up, to stop, to walk away. Not at all. What the energy shows here is that they are reflecting deeply, wrestling within, pouring their focus into reevaluating everything. This person is genuinely placing great hope in this relationship. They see you and this love as a clear destination, as something they long to reach, something they yearn to embrace fully. The problem here lies in the fact that from their current reality to the dream they hold with you, the distance is simply too vast, and that distance creates a striking imbalance. It is as if they are standing firmly on one side of the riverbank, while what they long to reach with you rests far away on the other shore. And it is precisely this difference that weighs heavily on them, that stirs up inner conflict, leaving them restless and contemplative. Let me give you a concrete example so you can visualize it more clearly. At present, they, or perhaps even you, may not be in circumstances that allow for marriage yet, not in a place where you can step into an official union. Yet in their heart, the image of marriage, of a family with you, is their ultimate destination, the final point they yearn for, the unwavering goal they intend to reach. Or in another instance, perhaps the two of you cannot yet live together, cannot yet build a shared home, a common space. But for them, the thought of living with you, of sharing every single day and every single hour together, is what they hold up as their destination. And so, the transformation signaled by the Death card is not about turning away onto a new path or abandoning the connection, but rather about awakening, an inner adjustment. They recognize where they stand right now, and they also see with clarity the magnitude of the goal they aim for with you. It is precisely this distance that makes them feel the burden, yet at the same time, it propels them into reflection. How can I, from where I am now, move closer to that place? Here, the cards speak very clearly. They do not want to let go. They do not view ending things as an option. Instead, they accept that change is necessary, that adjustments must be made, that they must learn to grow, to establish a firmer foundation in order to shorten that gap. And this change, though challenging and demanding, is a change directed toward you, a change moving closer to the shared goal they envision with you. The energy flowing from the Empress, the Page of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups, and Death together paints a picture that is both tender and sweet with emotions, yet serious in its intent to build, filled with longing to move forward, and at the same time weighed down by profound inner struggles. This is not about wavering or instability, but rather about a process of self-reflection, of adjusting one's inner world to find a way to transform something that feels distant into something real and attainable. This person is not at all saying that the two of you cannot marry or cannot live together. That is not the message. What the cards reveal is that, when they compare their present reality with the ultimate destination, the goal they long to share with you, there exists a wide chasm, a sharp imbalance. And it seems that around them, there are still many limitations, many barriers that make the path toward that destination anything but simple. Yet, despite all those constraints, their heart still yearns to overcome it all, as if they wish to leap in a single bound, to immediately arrive at that final destination. And it is this very yearning that at times turns into pressure, transforming their longing into exhaustion, leaving them breathless, pained, overwhelmed. Because when they gaze only at that faraway destination, it feels impossibly distant, so hard to touch, and by keeping their eyes fixed solely on it, they inadvertently burden themselves even more. However, what shines through here, in the shift within their emotions that the cards reveal, is in fact a positive sign. This does not mean they are becoming careless or shallow with their feelings, nor that they are reducing this relationship to something frivolous, a game, a passing distraction to lighten the load. Not at all. The positivity they are embracing is a different kind of energy, one that chooses to see things through a brighter, more optimistic lens, instead of allowing themselves to be consumed by that daunting distance. For if their mind were to remain perpetually entangled in that vast gap, then every moment with you, every second of conversation, every precious instant of connection, instead of being cherished happiness, could too easily transform into heaviness. They fear that those moments meant to be sweet, moments meant to be savored, could instead be overshadowed by sorrow, by tension, by the suffocating weight of pressure. And in that case, the relationship would cease to be the sanctuary where both of you find comfort and joy. They have come to realize this. They do not want to turn this love into a burden, into a shadowed atmosphere. They do not want to let thoughts of a distant future make the present become a source of sorrow. And so, the transformation within them lies here. Instead of tormenting themselves over the distant goal ahead, they are choosing to enjoy more, to cherish more deeply each moment they have with you right now. This in no way means that they are abandoning that destination, nor that they are surrendering the dream. No, they are still moving toward it, but at the same time, they understand that if they fix their gaze only on a far-off future, they risk losing the simple yet priceless happiness of the present. Therefore, this positivity is wisdom. It is the mark of maturity and choice. They want the moments with you to truly be warm pauses, to be joy found in fully living the present, instead of letting the weight of pressure ruin the beauty that love itself is meant to bring. The cards are showing something very clearly here. Your counterpart is beginning to see this relationship in a new light. They are slowly recognizing the true value of the time the two of you spend together, whether it is when you have the chance to meet face to face or simply when you are texting, conversing, and connecting. Every one of those moments, every second and every minute that the two of you can invest in nurturing this love is something immensely precious that they want to treasure. They wish to gather those moments, to let them accumulate over time, and to turn them into a firm foundation for this bond. They want to put their devotion into this, to transform those seemingly small moments into something that truly carries meaning, shaping them into colorful, abundant pieces of the larger mosaic of your shared love journey. This is the very shift happening in their perspective. They no longer wish to exhaust themselves by gazing only at the faraway destination, but instead they are learning how to focus on what is here and now, on what the two of you can do together in this very moment. The positivity that the cards speak of is not frivolity, nor is it avoidance or self-deception. It is a change in how they choose to live within this love, a conscious decision to honor the present, to cherish every instant of connection, instead of allowing it to turn into a weight that drags them down. They are not abandoning the ultimate goal, not letting go of the beautiful vision the two of you once cherished together. They still long to reach for something greater, still strive toward that grand destination that this relationship has the potential to attain. Yet they understand now that instead of staring only into that distant horizon and allowing the gap to devour all joy, what matters more is to build, hand in hand with you, upon what is within reach right here, right now. What they want to say is this: let us do what we can in the present moment, let us join forces, let us walk side by side to cultivate this relationship from the smallest of steps. Because within that very process, the two of you will be gifted countless moments of happiness, countless beautiful memories. As you both nurture and tend to every passing moment, the road toward that faraway goal will gradually shorten, and one day you will realize that all you have built together has carried this love closer to the shared dream. And even if you have not yet reached the final destination, every instant along this journey will already have been a piece of happiness in itself, living proof of a love that is maturing and becoming ever more steadfast. The message here is crystal clear. They wish to preserve and honor the present, to ensure that every moment spent with you becomes a memory of beauty. They believe that by focusing on the here and now, the two of you can both nourish your love and keep your spirits light and free. And in doing so, when the final destination eventually takes shape, it will not merely be a beautiful ending, but the natural result of a long journey overflowing with love, with joy, with sacred treasures that the two of you have created together. And here, the cards that emerge, the Page of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups, and the Death card, deliver their message. Within your counterpart lies an ideal image, a deeply cherished dream of love, of the future they long to share with you. Yet the Death card reveals that they are being guided to release, at least in part, those idealized visions that feel too far removed from reality. This release does not mean they no longer wish to arrive at that destination with you, nor that they are forsaking the long-term goals you share. On the contrary, it is simply an adjustment, a shift of perspective, so that the relationship is not weighed down by expectations that exceed what can be borne. They want to avoid endlessly gazing toward a faraway dream and thereby draining the present of its joy. Instead, they want to anchor themselves more deeply in the now, to pour their heart into the time the two of you can already share, to cherish it, to nurture it, and to savor it together. I can feel so clearly that within their heart, the longing to be connected, to build something lasting with you, remains intact, so intact, in fact, that it is still powerfully alive. Yet they also know that if they keep their eyes fixed only on a destination too far away, they will easily feel weighed down, pressured, and drained. That is why they are gradually realizing, let go of staring only at that distant end point, and instead, let us both focus on the moments we share now, on the small but tangible things that the two of you can do together in this very moment. They believe that if you continue to nurture love step by step, day by day, from the present, then along this very path, the two of you will naturally move closer toward that shared dream. And should there come a day when you truly do arrive at that goal together, then it will be the radiant outcome of a journey already imbued with profound meaning. Here, I see a message emerging. Be a little gentler, a little lighter. Perhaps for you, this relationship has never been something to take lightly or to treat as a fleeting amusement, and so the word gentle might feel out of place. But the message does not at all deny the seriousness of the love here. Rather, it serves as a reminder. Do not let it turn into a burden. Do not let this love be transformed into pressure. Your counterpart is not abandoning, not stopping, not withdrawing. Instead, what they long for is a love that is nourished by moments of happiness and ease, rather than weighed down by invisible expectations. They see that if this bond becomes heavy and overbearing, then it would be a loss, a pity, for the time that was always meant to be cherished, meant to be treasured. And so, they want this time to be about nurturing love, about joyfully and comfortably building together. And the deepest message shining through here is this: in their mind, life without you is utterly unimaginable. The very idea of walking alone no longer exists in their vision of life. You have already become an inseparable part of them, woven so closely that you cannot be untangled. They see you as a twin soul, a companion spirit, an irreplaceable presence in the journey of their existence. And the Soulmate card, appearing here, emphasizes this with overwhelming clarity. The two of you were born to walk together, and this bond is infinite, eternal. I will bring the reading for those who chose pile 3 to a close here. I am truly grateful that you have stayed and listened until the end of this message. Today's reading is not only a whisper from the universe, but also a bridge connecting us, souls who are seeking deeper understanding, truer resonance, and more profound connection in life. If you feel that your heart has been touched, even just a little, please leave a comment or a symbol you love so that I may know you are here and that the message has found its way to you. Don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Your companionship is truly an invaluable gift of the spirit, a powerful source of motivation that inspires me to continue bringing forth readings that are ever deeper, ever more meaningful. I look forward to seeing you again in the next readings.